How are we all doing? It's our first cloudy sky in a while, isn't it, lads? Yeah, it's going to be an alien radio signal hunt for us tonight, but the clear skies will return, I believe, tomorrow for some more sky watching. But until then, let's get together, let's hang out, let's listen for potential alien radio signals coming in from deep space there. We're listening on what is called the hydrogen line, and that is the channel on the radio dial that scientists theorise that if ET is out there, this is where they'd put the message, and this is where the famous, infamous wow signal was heard there. How you doing, DJ? Boo! How are ya? I know it will be very clear tomorrow though, and it should be, the humidity should be right, so it should be nice, and bright stars as well. Thank you for the gifts there. Mason is in, Dan and Chris. It's dark in here. Good to see you. Is it all coming through? Let me just double check, because YouTube has messed. No, it looks like it's coming through. All good then. So do say hello. Carl is in. Do say hello, guys. Let us know where you're all watching from, and yeah, ask away any questions that you may have. Whilst you're waiting for the action, the potential signals to appear right on the screen, we want to hear from you there. We want to hear if you've had an experience with the highly strange. DJ there coming in, feeding Alan.
Nom nom nom.
Thank you for that. It all goes back into the stream there. Help us improve what we are doing. Currently, we're trying to get on the road to do a live on-location skywatch from Rendlesham Forest, and that'll be pretty cool when we manage to do that. So yeah, do say hello and let us know where you're watching from. But for tonight, we're going to be listening on the hydrogen line. Now, we have got some signals on the screen, but they are unlikely to be alien at the minute there. And that orange line that you can see in the middle section, that is a signal, but it's most likely to be electronic interference because it is quite precise and it's quite consistent, and it's been here the whole afternoon whilst I've been having this running. So that tells us that the source of that signal is probably located here with us. What we want to see is a ridge, you know, like that, like a nipple, that sort of shape we want to see right on and around that central lines that we've got there. That is the zone of interest for us, and if you're on the tubes, you can see that ridge there, the green one there. We want to see that. We want that red line to go like the green line. Is what we want to see there. Jimmy, thank you for the follow. Where are you in from? Liberty is in the house, and Helen too as well. Oh, and the real Wayno there as well. God, my eyes tonight. Good to see you guys in. The hunt is on, exactly. So if you've seen the film Contact or the recent Apple TV series Pluribus, is how that starts. We're listening out with a big radio telescope there pointed up to the night sky, hoping to hear a message from ET. Now, they're incredibly rare, but they are getting less rare as time goes on, and that is probably because our technology is getting more and more advanced. There are lots of, over the years, unidentified signals that we as a species have detected, but we have not got that second concurrent detection to confirm it as 100% alien. Doesn't mean that it's not, it just means that we were limited. But if we did have the ability to do that, then I think we would have confirmed alien life out there long ago. There's just so many signals, and potentially from our closest neighbour up there in space as well. Our closest stellar neighbour, Proxima Centauri, appears to be sending us very interesting signals indeed. Not that we can decode them. Again, that is the second part of this. First of all, we just want to see a technological radio signal not coming from this Earth. That is the real win for us there. And SK is in, and Trevor too. Good to see you there. Mason as well, coming in as well. We're getting the crew in tonight. How are you doing? How is your weekend getting off too as well there? So the blue line that we're seeing at the top, that is the live signals coming in from a wide range of frequencies. That top section is kind of like your old-fashioned radio dial, where you'd tune the knob and the line would move along to whichever station you want. Now, we're not up the end where your FM or AM radio stations would be. We're right down the lower end, but it's technically the same channel, and we said we're on the hydrogen line, which is 1.420 something, and that is where scientists think that we are most likely to hear a message from ET, should they be out there, should they be sending us a message. And they think that because it is the frequency, hence the name, that hydrogen naturally emits a radio signal as it decays, and because it's the most abundant element in our galaxy, it's really useful to listen to this line as a sort of a baseline. It gives a science a baseline for the universe to then measure everything else from. So if you do want a message to be heard by unknown recipients, the most likely place that people are going to be listening is going to be this frequency. Not just our scientists, but this would work for alien scientists too. So there is going to be a high chance, and we do actually hear some very strange things on this frequency. Again, exactly where we'd expect to find it. As well there, where do we get to? Oh, Mason, 100%. Like, as soon as you get the Nazi stuff involved in the UFO, my interest is like, boom. I'm like, this is for me there. So thank you for sending that one over. And my opinion, thank you for the gifts. Appreciate that. Said all the gifts, the subs, the patrons, the members, the merch, all that stuff there does go straight back into the stream there. Do you think Leanne will, like, oh, DJ, bang on, like, yes, a million times. She will be, like, in more ways than just because it's a cool image. Like, the idea of somebody thinking of her like that, yeah, you'll make her day with that. So I haven't spoiled it for her yet. But yeah, hopefully our post will sort itself. They're normally quite good. They're just a bit slow around here. So it normally arrives. It's just when. The spike, there's a spike on the blue as well. There very much is. So good spot in there. So you can see those top ones. The top ones are those live signals coming in almost in real time. Now it's a bit slow because the computer we're running it on is a little bit laggy, basically. It's a little bit underpowered. But there is a signal, as you can see, coming in, and it's reflected on this middle section. So the middle line, the green, is basically the same thing, but it displays the data slightly differently. It displays it in averages, and that way we can see trends over time a little bit differently. And as you can see how that spike is showing on the top of the blue is now the orange at the bottom there, so it's easier for us to see it. And as you can see that lovely little wave going on, the background noise there, that tells us, you know, that shows us it's organic. It's getting a lovely little wave, very organic shape there. Whereas that ridge, look how square that is. Technological signals, and that's how we can differentiate them, because the universe screams in radio. That is its language, is radio signals. We've just merely adapted it and utilized it for technology. But yeah, the universe screams in our radio. And where are we? Down here, but yeah, so that is a signal coming in, but because it has been with us the whole time, and because it's quite thin, it's unlikely that in itself to be alien there. But keep a lookout if that suddenly disappears, especially if there is an alignment with some of the planets that we get in range tonight. So if you are over on the TikToks, you're going to see a very different version of this. You just get like the middle sliver of the screen, but it looks like this. Oh no, that's the Skywatch. It looks like this. There is more, obviously, the thing to be displayed, but also you get to see the waveform analysis of the sound that's coming in. You get to see data on the stars that are in range, and the bottom bit, which is kind of here, you can just about see a little bit over on the vertical, but that shows you where our dish is pointing, what stars are in range of the dish. So if a star comes in range of our dish and we suddenly get a signal which goes when that star leaves, cause and effect, it helps us to identify these things. So you actually get a slightly better version over on the tubes there. So at the Thing UFO, if you want to check that one out there. Thank you, Mason. I do appreciate that. And Paul as well, coming in with the follows. Where are you joining us from tonight? M to the C, good to see you. Where did we get to? Down over on the tubes. Yeah, good to see all you guys. I'm glad you're doing well there, SK, and happy weekend. Are you marching across your manor? How is it this weekend? Are you doing any lives? And where are we? Down here. Paul, thank you for the gifting the membership there. Massively appreciated that. So it all goes back in the stream, helps improve what we do. SK, you got that one. Hey, so SK, you'll be able to join us on our next deep dive. So every couple of weeks, unless there's an emergency release from the US, we do this, which is a private stream as a thank you to our Patreons and members, where we take a really in-depth look into the phenomena there. So all of the leaked videos, the leaked reports, whistleblower testimony, all that sort of stuff we take a really long read through and get all of your opinions on it there. So you better join us that. And if that sounds like your cup of tea, there is a free trial link in the bio there for the Patreon. So you better join us on those too and watch the past ones back. I feel like it's doing our UFO homework. I hear so many interesting podcasts where they reference certain things, whether it's the Majestic 12 documents or the Condign report there and all this stuff. You go, oh, that sounds interesting. We go through and we read those reports. We read the scientific papers. We read the whistleblower testimonies. We go through it all. And I cannot tell you, every single one that we have read has given us some really good information. So we hear this a lot, that, well, where's all the evidence? All the US government has looked into this in the 50s and 60s. They've done reports on this, and it says there's nothing to see there. Well, we've actually read those reports, and what those reports say is that there is something going on, and it's so the same as what we're experiencing now. It is so amazing to see there. And Gaza as well there, how are you doing? Right, where did we get to as well? Mason, yeah, we should be skywatching tomorrow. The weather is looking good for a skywatch. So, guys, normally what we do here, well, if it's a clear sky, basically we do this. So it's the UFO UAP skywatch. It looks like that. We've got a camera pointed to the night sky, and we come to you live from Wiltshire here in the UK, right in the heart of Crop Circle country, and just down the road from Stonehenge. So lots of strange things to see in the night skies. We've got some very interesting tools to aid us in doing this, whether it's tracking planes, but also satellites and things like that. So yeah, we always see some very interesting things. But that should be tomorrow night if the weather holds as planned. We're going through this heat wave. This is the first cloudy night we've had in a while, so we haven't done this in a while, but at least we can still get together on those cloudy nights and be getting and looking for evidence. The more we do this, statistically, our odds increase of getting a detection, because we systematically sweep very similar parts of the night sky, so increasing our odds. It's not just right place, but it is also right time. So we've obviously got to be pointing our dish at a star that has a planet that is inhabited by life, and do we know that for sure? We've got some clues, but we don't know for sure. But also at the right time. It is unlikely that a civilization is going to use the energy required to send these signals as loud as they need to be for as long as they need to be all of the time. That's a hell of a lot of resources. In fact, a recent paper theorized that we're probably most likely to hear a civilization rather than a hello, is anybody else out there message. They are much likely to, more likely I should say, to receive or to send a goodbye or a warning out there, because that is when a civilization doesn't have anything else better to do. All of that energy, all of that time, not putting it into medicine or science, it is just out there in, sending that message there. They've got nothing better to do if they're on the way out, which might also be the reason why science had such a hard time in pushing the confirmation of the signals. We get lots and lots, we as a species, we do detect lots and lots of anomalous radio signals coming in from what appear to be from deep space, looking very much like what we'd expect an alien radio signal to look like. But at the minute, the way SETI works, doing it, it's not what we're doing right now, which is real time with the dish sitting with it, like they show it in the movies. No, what they do is they just mostly get the data. Either if they've got a certain mission, they'll go, right, for a month we're just going to listen on these dishes, and then they process the data after the fact. That can take months and years. The recent SETI one took 20 odd years to go through the data. So then by the time they've gone through the data, found these interesting signals, and then put another paper together on that, and then booked the telescope time, and then reviewed that data to check back for a second confirmation, it's 25 years or more. And again, if that theory that maybe they're sending them as a goodbye, well, it ain't going to be there 25 years later necessarily, is it? Which is possibly why we're not getting that second detection. It always reminds me of that meme of the guy riding the bike, and then he puts the stick in the spokes of their wheel, and then fall off their bike, and then blame whoever for the self-inflicted damage. That's how it feels to me at the minute. So we're picking up the slack, guys. We are listening out live, our own dish here, pointing up the night sky, hoping to hear ET say hello. Do say hello yourself in the chat. Let us know who you're watching from, and ask away any questions that you may have. We'd like to hear about that, especially if you've had an experience with the highly strange. Also, wondered where you were yesterday there. You don't stream on Fridays. So Mason, we did mention, normally we're not off, but yesterday we've still got some friends staying with us. So I thought they were going to get in late, and rather than putting them through me being loud and doing all this whilst they're trying to sleep in the next room, I thought I'd give them a night off. So we'll see how they get on tonight. I said they can have a few nights of me doing this, but yes, we took the night off, but normally we don't. Normally it is pretty much every night, despite my missus's best hopes there. Jason's well coming in with the shares, appreciate that. All of the likes, the shares, the tapping away, all that jazz helps us reach more and more like-minded people there like yourselves, and the more eyes and minds we get on the phenomena, so the more we can all piece this puzzle together. And John Doe, so if you get a signal, can you send a message out asking them, why do you call humans containers? John, I love that one. Thank you for asking it. Really, really interesting. So 2 parts to that one that I'm going to go for that one. So can we send a message out? So us ourselves, no, we're listening only. And in theory, you can send radio signals quite easily, but it depends how much energy you put into them as how far they will go. And how far they'll be detectable as far as they go as well. It's kind of like shouting. If there's noise, you want to shout louder. If you want somebody to hear you further away, you've got to shout louder as well with it there. So we don't at the minute, because to technically message aliens is not something that we could actually get a license for. I am looking into ways of possibly doing it, but this brings up a second question, which is, if you can get around the power required to send a message over the distances. But the second part is, should we? We don't know what is fully out there in space. So this is SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. You've probably heard that phrase a few times. But there is something called METI, messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. Rather than listening, actually sending the message themselves. We've done it once as a species. We did it in the early 1970s. We used our most powerful radio telescope, which was actually a space radar, so it could send a message. And we basically said, hey, we're humans, we're carbon-based life form, we're on the third planet from our star, blah, blah, blah. Very simple message. We bursted that out into a part of space where actually there's not any stars anywhere near there. But funnily enough, we got the WOW signal, didn't we, only a few years later. I don't think they're connected, different parts of space and stuff like that, but it is a bit coincidental. But people do think, should we be doing it? You know, because maybe there is friendly aliens out there, but if there's friendly, there's probably going to be not so friendly as well. And do we want to be advertising our presence to them all? Big target on us there. In fact, old Stephen Hawkins there, Professor Stephen Hawkins, he said, probably best not to do that, lads. We don't really know what's going to be out there, which is incredibly interesting, because as scientists, if they did not think that life out there was likely, or that intelligent life was out, or that there could be a threat from it, he would have said, do what you want, it's just not likely, it's a numbers game. But he didn't say that. He said probably best not. So that tells you that a mind like that thought that it was not only likely that life is out there and capable of reaching us, that also it posed a potential threat in here. So that's a very good one there. And yeah, but what if we are also from another planet and destroyed early life here? And that's why part one. So, DJ, interesting angles. The story of how life started on Earth, the story of humanity, intelligent life, is a complex one. And there is a few little points, but we don't know a lot about it. It's a lot of assumption in the mainstream narrative. In fact, we know that complex life formed independently twice on Earth. So from the same, not so complex life, single cell, but to come to multiple cell, there was a branch of complex life that lasted about 1 million years and then was wiped out. And then our version of complex life came in. So maybe, there's all this competition going on all fronts. In fact, originally on Earth, the first form of life was bacteria that I think it was carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, whichever one it is, that was prevalent there, because our atmosphere wasn't oxygen, and they fed off of that. And it was actually a certain smaller type of bacteria that basically fed on that and then outgassed. Its waste product was oxygen, converted our atmosphere into an oxygen atmosphere, which killed off all the original ones there. And bees as well, good to have you in. Where are you joining us from there? And Chili Guy from Kent, welcome aboard there. We don't have many in from Kent. We have lots of people in internationally, but not a lot from Kent. There's a handful. Have you ever seen anything strange in those skies? I'd love to hear about that one. And others don't contact us. I know what we've done. Well, maybe they drive past and lock their windows. I mean, there's certain places that I used to live where I'd probably act like that. I don't think they'd necessarily be too unhappy with us, if that makes sense. I think they would view us like we view animals, like tigers and lions. They're dangerous, they can be savage there. Even apes and monkeys, they have wars, and they're really, really vicious, but we don't judge them morally. We just go, oh, look, they're primitive species, and that's how they define territory. I think they'd view us a little bit like that, as in, they'll put us behind the glass for safety, but you never know. Yeah, where's Flat there? Have you gone to the Flat Earth side, Harko? And good evening, Marcus. Good to see that Astra too. Let me scroll through. We're updated on the message there. Harko coming in with gifts. Thank you for that. Let's bounce back over to the tubes. Where did we get to with you guys? Cheap Ass, how are you there as well? Marcus is in, and feed him, exactly. It actually rained today there. It was so nice and refreshing. SK, we weren't lucky enough for rain, but I tell you what, there was a breeze where I did feel slightly colder. And tonight I've not got my fan on in here. Now the rest of the week it is going back up for us, so I'm going to make the most of tonight not being as ridiculously hot. But yeah, it's a ridiculous time, but at least it's mostly good skies for us there. Baseman as well, Jonathan, good to see you. And as well, Up, how are you doing tonight there? Where are we? Down here as well. Feels like ever since the end of season. Oh my god, it's just so ridiculous, isn't it, this summer at the minute? And Lucy there, this is a new there. What's going on? Good to have you in. Where are you joining us from? So we're doing an alien radio signal hunt. So if you've seen the film Contact, up there feeding Alan, there, or the recent Apple TV series Pluribus, or maybe The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, that was an old film as well. You've seen it in Hollywood, which is basically big dish pointing up to the night sky, listening out, hoping to hear ET say hello. And we're listening out on a frequency called the hydrogen line. This is really down the low end of the radio spectrum there, but it's where scientists think that if ET's out there, of all of the channels on the dial that they could choose, out of all of the mediums of communication, they think this is the most likely place for it. And it is where there have been a lot of anomalous signals detected before. So it's a bit of a lottery. We've got to be in the right place at the right time. We've got to be pointed over the star system that may be inhabited by life when they're choosing to send a signal. So there's a bit of luck involved, but it does happen. But it's a good excuse for us to get together and hopefully, get some evidence together. But we do a Skywatch. We look out for UFOs. No, that's the wrong button, Sam. You're getting it around the wrong way. We do, a Skywatch where we look out to the night sky live for UFOs, UAP, and all that sort of stuff here. And we're coming to you right from the heart of Crop Circle country here in the UK. So the Skywatches are very, very fruitful. It's good to have you in. And where are we down here? Sporting my new Signal Hunter t-shirt. Marcus, I loved that. And I think the merch showcase, let me actually see if it's loaded. It normally loads around the early hours of the morning, so you might not be in on it this time, but you will be for tomorrow. Look, there's A Up as well. Amanda, I think. Janie. And A Up again with the mug. We've got Carl in there as well. There you go, there's Carl. So yeah, you'll be in on this. I think we've got a couple of new additions to be added to the merch showcase there. So guys, if you do decide to support us, and here's your Signal Hunter t-shirt, perfect for today. So yeah, it's becoming time perfectly for the Signal Hunting watch there, Marcus. But yeah, do post a picture of yourself in the merch showcase channel on the Discord, and then it'll appear on that one in our streams there as well. Link in bio for those ones. So it all goes back into the stream, no doubt in the pub for us, and hoping it's general improve what we do. But at the minute, I said we're trying to get on the road to do more Skywatches from UK UFO hotspots there, starting off ideally with Rendlesham Forest. That'll be pretty cool. How you doing, Jolly? Good to see ya. And where are we? Down there as well. And Living Light is in. Indigo 2. Half moon there, it was so bright and low. I was wondering, I saw the moon last night, and I was like, oh, tempted for a moon stream, because guys, we haven't done one in a while, and the moon's not been in the right position, but it looks like that, and we've seen some strange things in the past there. So do make sure you're following, subscribe, guys, whatever it is, wherever you are. So, because we're on pretty much every night. Clear skies, it's the UFO, UAP, Skywatch, cloudy nights. It is the alien radio signal hunt here, or if the moon's up, said the moon watch as well, and you should get those messages when we go live. Marcus is in over on the TikTok as well there, and coming in with the gifts, Gribbage and Harko as well. Appreciate those. Said all back into the stream. Astra is in. And where are we there? DJ, the zoo theory, yeah. And I think if you look at the way they treat us, so far what we can deduce, it's zoo, prison, that sort of thing that I think makes a lot of sense around that one. Maybe we're a novelty to them. And Chili Guy there, have you had any odd signals? So we ourselves, we've had odd that I would think that they're odd in the organic sense. So there's something spicy going on up there, solar flares, interesting astronomical events and all that sort of stuff. And Marcus coming in with the gifts over on TikTok, thank you. All of that sort of thing. But I don't think we've had any good candidates for alien radio signals. Now, they are quite rare. So it used to be the case, it'd be once every decade or so that you would get this one-off anomalous radio signal. But as technology's advanced, more ears to the sky, that equipment's got more sensitive. It became every decade, then it was every couple of years. Now it's a couple of times a year that people are getting these anomalous signals. When people say there's no evidence for aliens, what they mean is there is no 100% conclusive evidence for aliens. But what there is lots of strange signals that we cannot, apportion to Earth technology that look to be coming from space and look to be technological in nature. We just can't, they can't debunk it and they can't fully confirm it, because to confirm it, we're kind of limited on the technology front here. So it's a bit of a a dodgy one from the scientific community when say, oh, well, it's not 100%. It's like, you haven't got the technology to confirm it 100%, have you yet? But there are lots of these anomalous signals, and again, they appear as well to be coming from all over the place. It could be alive. Now, all of them going to be alien? Probably not. There are probably going to be certain things about the universe there, because again, the universe screams in radio. It's its natural language. There are going to be things that we haven't discovered yet causing some of these. But, I mean, even our closest stellar neighbour there, Proxima Centauri, just over the road in space terms, wouldn't want to walk it, that appears to be ascending. There are claims of signals coming from our closest neighbour. Now, is that cool? The idea that there is a civilization around our closest neighbouring star that is either at a similar technological level or more advanced than us. Now, the interesting thing about those signals, they're not on this frequency. They're not. This is the hello, is anybody else out there frequency, specifically designed to just, like the public address in the supermarket there. They're going to get the most amount of people chance to hear the message. But obviously for their own communications, they could use, like as we do, specific bands for specific usage, or they may not use radio at all. This is just the most likely place for it if you want more ears on it. But the Proxima Centauri apparent signals, they appear to be more like it's on a different frequency. It's either their own communication or it's their radar or something technological like that. They're not necessarily directly messaging us going, hey, Earth, what's the haps? And they're about 4.2 light years away from us. So that message takes 4.2 years to travel there. And that, again, that's our closest neighbour in space terms. So even if today, like I said, we've got some stars, if you're on the tubes, you can see the star map there and see where our dish is and its sort of catchment radius. We should have some close-ish by stars in range pretty soon. So again, if one of those is 500 light years away, if they send us a message, that was sent 500 years ago for us. You know, if it was sent, we say hello again, that's 1,000-year round trip to say hello, as well there. It's a very interesting question there. Have you seen any UFOs tonight there? Johnny Mac, good to have you in there. No, not tonight. We're listening out only tonight there. So we're not actually listening out necessarily for UFOs themselves. There is a different frequency. It's 1.6. We're about 1.420. So 1.6, lots of people report that the UFOs, they either emit a signal on that or, it's part of a byproduct of how they work. But essentially that signal is if you want to catch the UFOs locally. Skinwalker Ranch talk a lot about this, but generally there is a connection. Now, the reason we don't hunt on that signal is because basically we don't have eyes on it at the minute. You know, if it's cloudy or raining, we don't put the camera out. So if we were to get a signal on 1.6, it could be alien or it could be Earth technology, because a lot of actually satellite to ground communication use that frequency band as well. 1.420 where we're listening is so useful for the radio astronomers that you're not actually allowed to transmit on it under international treaties. So that helps us. It means that if we do get signals, it is very, very, very unlikely to be anything man-made on that one as well. Where the F is Kate? Kate is there, I think. You're referring to yourself in the third person. I'm like the devil. Say my name, she'll appear. You just get like a disturbance in the force there, Kate. How are you doing? And Grib is there. Sorry, I haven't been in for a while there. Rather poor. Oh, Grib, sorry to hear about that one. But hey, you never need to apologise. We do miss you, obviously, and love having you in. But there's never any obligation. You know, whenever you fancy it, maybe you're just bored of UFOs for a bit and you want to come back in 6 months. That is totally cool as well. But it's good to see you. I hope you're definitely feeling better now. How you've been? You've been a bit poorly. But has there been anything good? I want to hear from you there. And have we had any more releases? Oh, from the WH. We got to 4, didn't we? I think we're on release 4 now. And apparently there's some very interesting stuff on the horizon there. So it's definitely not stopped. So I will give that to them there. 45 flaps per unit. What measures that? And useless. It has instructions and even the building stuff. It isn't. Oh, you're talking to Harco there. Sorry. Where are we? Down in here. Oh, Harco was atting. Where are you? Where are you? Marcus there coming in with the gifts as well. Appreciate that. All the gifts, the subs, the patrons, the members, the merch. Or it goes back into the stream. I actually quite like this t-shirt because look, it's a signal hunting, big radio telescope there, dark night sky, and exactly what we're doing tonight, listening out, hoping to hear ET say hello. Oh, and I've got past the virus side of things there, but weird heart things have started happening. Oh, the tests, oh my god, Gribbage, I had exactly the same stuff like that after COVID. Sadly it took me a couple of years to get past it, but that is scary and horrendous there. I feel for you there, but still, statistically, you'll be all right. But do the tests, obviously, for the things there. But I'm sure it will be all right. But I appreciate that. It's a very stressful time there. People seem to have forgotten I am also Kate the Late and not actually very quiet. I was trying to think of what it was last night. I don't know, my weird sleepy time thoughts. I was like, what is Kate's actual username there? It's not Kate the Late. I thought it was Kate the Curious. That's what I settled on there. But obviously I was wrong, but not necessarily. Right, where are we over on the tubes? I'm across two chats tonight, guys. So you have to bear with us as I read through one and then go to the other. But do say hello. Let us know where you're watching from tonight there and ask away any questions. There are no silly questions at all. So we want to hear from you, especially if you've had an experience with the highly strange. Would love to hear about that. But do make sure you're following or subscribed to whatever it is, wherever you are, because we're on pretty much every night. Clear skies, it's the UFO UAP Skywatch coming to live from Wiltshire here in the UK, right in the heart of Crop Circle country, and just down the road from Stonehenge. So lots of strange and anomalous things in these skies over the years. If it is, if it's a cloudy night, then we do the alien radio signal hunt. And if it's a moon watch night, if the moon is up, we see some strange things on, off and around the moon. So yeah, do make sure you're following to get those notifications when we go live on those. We got to Jolly and Living Light in, didn't we? And Indigo as well. Where did we get to? The moon stream is cool there. Do you ever see the rovers roaming around? I wish. And that was my first question. I had one of my exes, her dad was really into his astronomy, had the full-on massive telescopes himself, and like, so he was showing me what the images you could get from the moon, and I'm like, blew my mind. You could see all of the craters and stuff. It was just amazing. And my first question was, can you see the landing zone? Sadly, it's not. I don't think it's possible here on Earth with the telescope sizes to kind of get down to that small. But the actual orbiters that NASA and other space agencies have up around them, they photograph the surface, kind of like we have the Google Earth ones for us here. They have, and you can actually see what's left of the landing site. You see all the tracks and the rovers and things like that, which is pretty damn cool. And I'm hoping to be up at Glastonbury tour Monday night there for the moonrise. So it has to be a clear night. Better be a clear night. Or I'll be spitting my dummy. Oh, I feel that one, up. But it would still be cool going up there anyway. Monday night. Wave as you go past. You're not far from us there, up. Are you also doing your conference at the same time? Or is it purposely coming down just for the moon alignment? And how are you doing, Gandalf? Good to see you there. And Lucy, hello. And it feels like a storm is brewing today. Air pressure has given me a banging head all day, and tinnitus has been awful. It's surprising how many people that are affected by all these sorts of things. I know last year, we'd have groups of people all having those similar sort of symptoms, is reflecting whether it is within our atmosphere or maybe some of the wider stellar events. I could do with a good rainstorm here. Sadly, it's just cloudy for us tonight there. What's that, Jolly? The sun is 186,000 miles in diameter. The moon is 2160 and appears to be the same size. Have you done the acclaimed math? It's impossible for people. So I haven't actually done the math there, but good question there. So I've heard it's 400th basically the size versus 400th the distance. So that kind of gives it its solar eclipse. So I haven't done the math myself. So somebody do that math there. I want to see it. Is that what the accepted sun measurement and moon sort of diameter measurement is? Does the math actually work? It's a very good point there, because that is something that I repeat there, and because I do think it is suspicious that it's perfectly aligned like that, but I haven't done the checking out myself. And Chris, they're doing exciting science work. It's work like this makes us humanity's pioneers out of expanding our knowledge. It's, Chris, I think right that, and I think old Joe Rogan did this quite well, that for the longest time, I think just the average Joe was written off as not particularly intellectual, not particularly curious there, or open to any of this stuff. But old Joe Rogan there, with the range of subjects that's covered in that sort of there, it really kind of started to show people that actually the layperson is interested in this. And now, obviously, just generally in podcasts out there, there's just people on the street, I'm not listening to my podcast on quantum physics and stuff. People are hungry. This isn't exclusively the domain of academia anymore. People are capable, people are intelligent, and people are doing, I think more and more work. And it definitely makes the establishment a little bit more worried. It's why we have a little bit more conflicts and less of a consensus, because just like I think Johnny pointed out there, people are doing the maths now and going, are you sure, lads? Are you sure? No longer are we relying exclusively on authority. Now, we don't want to throw authority fully out of the window. It does serve a purpose there, but it doesn't mean what it used to back in the day, which was, you're a god of science. Does it there? The more people doing it, the better. And doing this stream, again, it blew my mind exactly how many people are curious about how it all works and how it all goes on. And again, I don't really know a lot about it, but as you do it, it is the internet and people will correct you. So we all get to learn as we're going forward there. So again, guys, do ask away any questions. If you're curious, somebody else in the chat will be as well. There's no silly questions here at all. And Stuman is in there from a cloudy Worcestershire. It's cloudy down here as well. And AFC there, 1420 megahertz frequency. The hydrogen line there, used by many scientists. They do. And it's really good for radio scientific purposes, because we don't have that man-made interference mostly on it, or nothing directly is allowed to broadcast on it there, other than, there are other complexities of radio. But yeah, it's very useful for science. So for listening, it gives us a baseline on the universe, and not just because it's quiet, but because it is the frequency. It's called the hydrogen line because hydrogen naturally emits a radio signal there as it decays, and that's the most abundant element in our galaxy. So we're listening in to the universe. We're listening at the minute to hydrogen. And if I shut up, which is a rarity, make the most of it, that is what we're hearing on the hydrogen line there. It is the sound of that it's actually being drowned out by what's called the CMB, the cosmic microwave background. So actually what you're hearing, the hydrogen is a little bit too quiet for us here, but what you're actually hearing there is the cosmic microwave background, which is the sound for just ever so slightly after the Big Bang, which is really cool to think that you're listening to the Big Bang right there. But yeah, very useful for scientific purposes there. It's that baseline to measure from, isn't it, I think? And where did we get to? And good evening there, AFC. Illuminating the clouds. Was it 238,000 miles away? I don't know the things there, but it's a bright object. That doesn't strike me as a thing it couldn't do. And Grandmaster there, look out tonight for oh my god, visible tonight. It's where the instrument took its name. Oh my god, Glockenspiegel. Oh my god, I can't do that one. So what is it then? Is it a formation, a solar event? That is very interesting there, Grandmaster. Where did we? I haven't heard that one before as well. And Baseman, there was an X prize for getting a picture of the lunar landing site from Earth there, and I think someone did. Oh, really? You'd need a massive scope for that, but I suppose it's possible. Just the bigger and the clarity of it. Oh, it will be your night stop over there for your conference there. I can't wait. Well, have a fantastic time with that one. I want to hear all about it. And the Geo Corona there. Okay. Okay, I get you there. And Paul as well, I have bad migraines and tinnitus too. Is that something that's coming in with the season there again? So that susceptibility to those, to the higher pressure and things. And light travels forever in a 10x17 Tor vacuum. Let's debunk the math. Oh my god. That was easy. So no, that's not the formulas. That's not how the formulas work to fully get ourselves around that one. And phantom sounds have often been linked with the shifting plate tectonics. The effect on the ear are comparable to tinnitus, and it's just that some people are more sensitive to certain sounds. Very interesting. And there are certain things like the hums that are heard in various places. Again, certain frequencies that we don't necessarily all pick up, only some people do. I suppose it's the same might be true as well with light, because some people have that fourth light cone, some humans. Not common, but it does happen. Again, they can see probably a wider spectrum than we can, so some people with more or less sensitive hearing be able to pick up on different frequencies affected by what is going on out there. And oh god, it's scrolling ahead on me. Down there. And A up as well, sending some for Alan. Thank you guys for that one, feeding Alan there with the gifts. Just wanted to tease me there, trying to get me to spell it, or to say it. And Living Light there, sending healing energy to where it's needed. Oh, that's very kind of you, Living Light, for that one. And Paul there, hi, I saw tons of satellites last night. They're three were following each other, and almost in a straight line. The most heading east there, presuming they were satellites. So this is the thing. It doesn't mean that they're 100% satellites, but just because there are so many of them up there, most likely, the statistical argument. Now, there's a lot of man-made objects up there, so until they behave in ways that satellites just can't do, like stopping dead, shooting off, zigzagging around, the interstellar handbrake turn, until they do that, then it's probably most likely going to be a satellite. But those sorts of things were seen much less often, but they were seen well before man had satellites up there in space. So something very similar to a satellite in orbit, reflecting that light back down to us, and it is recorded in old photographic plates taken by observatories doing all-sky surveys. So there's something going on. It's that limited data. It is hard to know, but the more you look, the more chance you have of seeing those anomalies. To be fair, even ET flying from A to B, the most efficient path between 2 points is a straight line, so they're going to be straight at a consistent speed most of the time. Not much to avoid, is there? So it will be that rare occasion they do something strange there. Oh, and that one shooting star. I don't feel like we've seen a good shooting star in a while. There have been a couple, but I don't think they've been the real good ones. But we'll be back on for a Skywatch tomorrow night, guys. So do make sure you're following and subscribed so you can join us for that one there. It's going to be very clear and the humidity is going to be low, so we should see all the colours of those stars and the brightnesses and things there as well. Honestly, it's magic nights. I mean, there is something about getting in touch with nature. It just presses buttons into us, I think, some deeply there, something really deep in our biology. And they do say that man, post the Industrial Revolution there, with all of the smog and the light pollution, that we are so much less connected now to our place in the universe because we just don't see the stars. And I know personally, I grew up in a much more light polluted area, Essex, and then we moved recently here to the country, the middle of nowhere in Wiltshire. And the first night, I just walked out and saw the stars. I'm like, look, I know what stars are. I've seen a couple, I've seen the moon, but I'd never seen a satellite, I'd never seen a shooting star, and all of that sort of stuff. Here, the first night, 10 seconds, oh my God, shooting star, satellite. It was just crazy here, and so many stars, and the colour of the planets as well that you can see. Like, you'll laugh at me. I know Mars is the red planet, but I didn't know we can see it with our eyes. You can see it with your eyes on a clear night. It was, yeah, totally magic there. Watching on and off for an hour, though. You can definitely get lost in it there. And Chris there, loving the healing vibes there. I'll grab a few of them also, definitely, Chris. And AFC, I'm also more interested in earthquakes and tornadoes, especially what's going on with the tectonic plates at the moment, including in America, awaiting the big one. So interesting. These are so complex systems with all these different interactions working together. I mean, weather generally is a complex system there, but if you're bringing in geology, which probably does correlate to it as well, and because we work within our sciences from the known one step at a time into the unknown, we always think, well, we've got most of it, it's just one or two things, but really it's the other way around. This is why weather reports are still mostly crap, because it's just such a complicated system with so many variables. As soon as you get more than 3 days out, the statistical likelihood of that being anywhere near correct just drops through the floor. And it seems America is hitting up for a big one. Oh God, I hope they are all safe. What about those earthquakes that they had quite recently around Area 51? And people were like, that seismic profile actually does match underground nuclear testing, and that was an interesting one that's kind of gone quiet. Going to quickly bounce back over to the TikTok, see where we are with you guys. But if you are just joining us, we're doing our live UFO UAP. No, we're not. That's the wrong one. We're doing our live alien radio signal hunt tonight. We are searching what is called the hydrogen line. That is the channel on the radio dial that scientists theorise that if ET is out there, this is where they'd put the message. It's where the WOW signal was heard, one of the most infamous, potentially alien radio signals ever detected. But it is also, where scientists think they're most likely to hear that message. Where are we in the chat? So do say hello. Let us know where you're all watching from tonight there. We want to hear from you all. Ask away any questions that you may have. No silly question at all. Where did we get to down here? It was pretty horrid there, but staying brave and trusting the doctors to do what they need to do. Oh, Gribbage, yeah, with this sort of stuff, it's so well laid out for them. So, yeah, you'll be all good. You'll be all good with that one. But it is testing until you're in that situation. You know, it is hard to be there. That would be a more accurate, to be fair. Kate the Curiosity. Hopefully didn't kill the K. Where did we get to with the gifts? I've seen a few more pop up there. Harko coming in more, Joseph as well, Marcus and Kate coming in there, and feeding Alan, you guys.
Nom nom nom.
Thank you for that. So it all goes back into the stream there, helping us improve what we're doing. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll up. It keeps jumping ahead of me as soon as I breathe. Have you ever picked up much on this one? Sorry, Flick, it's a good question, and I'll be totally honest, no, they're quite rare. The more we do it, the statistical odds of us to having a detection does increase, but yeah, it's a right place, right time sort of thing, you know. It's going to be the case. There's no warning as well. It is literally how you see it in the films, where they're all just sitting around, you know, in the control room at night. They're listening out there, and they're chatting away, they're eating their pizza, the crumpled up paper into the waste paper basket like that, and then they drop everything because the sound comes through the speakers, you know. No warning as the Earth rotates, so our dish is sweeping across the night sky, passing over various stars. It'll be literally at this distance. It'll only be on screen if we do get a signal for between 30 to 90 seconds because of that rotation. Even a whole planet giving us a wide signal there 30 to 90 seconds before we sweep off that target. So it doesn't build up, it just goes boom, signal, and then boom, it's gone again. So keep your eyes looking out for it there. We haven't ourselves had one. Again, they're quite rare, but they're getting less rare, and again, the more you do it, the more your statistical odds do increase of getting a detection. Apparently our closest stellar neighbour is one that I'm really interested in there. Proxima Centauri has potentially detected some of these signals as well, and also putting my trust in the heart to do what it needs to do. Oh no, Gribbage, bang on with that. The more you look into it, the human body, the more we just get out of the way of it, the more wonders it can do. Oh, there's a few comments up from there. Thank you, Kate. Super late. Hey, but you still got to it there. We found it. We worked our way through. Oi there as well, and a Wolfman coming in with gifts. Again, thank you for those guys. Much appreciated. It said gifts, the subs, the members, the merch. It's like that single hunted t-shirt. All go straight back into stream there, helping us improve what we're doing. Currently saving up to take the show on the road, the sky watching on the road to Rendlesham Forest. We're going to do a UK UFO hotspot tour, starting with Rendlesham Forest. They're doing live sky watches from all of the locations of the important places. So that one's where the crash/landing, whatever it was, may have happened just outside the US Air Force Base in the 80s. And Joseph, today I bought a duffel coat and it had 9 buttons, but I could only fascinate Oh, Joseph, that is good. That is Christmas cracker worthy there. Knockdown there, Harco. And Wolfman as well coming in with the gifts. Appreciate that one. The maths don't add up there. And who's an average Joe? He was in the chat somewhere a second ago. The average Joe. Well, the average, just a standard. You know, the average person, the non-specific member of the general public. Don't drink coffee and Dr. Pepper together there. I should be drinking neither, but I'm drinking both. That is an interesting combination. Have you got a name for that one, Kate? You're going to call it the Spicy Alan or something like that? Do not recommend. It's quite interesting. It is fascinating because, I mean, look, you know, there's no guarantee that the sky watches, we get sightings quite a lot of the time. The skies are very fruitful with anomalous things, but this, again, is much quieter. It's more of an excuse for us to hang out, share our accounts for the story of the phenomena whilst also doing the work, because I said it is real, it's all coming in, it's real equipment, spent a lot of money doing it, and you know, we are pointing up to the night sky, so we're still getting evidence, or working on getting evidence there, but just generally the phenomena of radio is really, really interesting. There are even, you know, it's not just potentially alien radio signals coming in from distant stars. There's phenomena called long delay echoes, which kind of overlap the two, the radio and the aliens here. Now, it's heard rarely, but it is a phenomenon that's well reported in radio, that basically people will send out a message, a ham radio user or whatever, and they will get an echo, like their message bounced back to them. And it's about 7 seconds, I think, is the delay, which, well, radio waves travel at the speed of light. So, you know, we can tell where the thing is before it, you know, if it's reflecting and bouncing that signal back, or if something's repeating it back, it gives you a maximum distance sort of thing there. And at 7 seconds, or it would be 3.5 seconds each way, at that distance out from Earth, it's not the moon, it's what's called a Lagrange point. You go, well, that's very interesting. Why would a Lagrange? It's just a place in space. Why would that reflect or repeat a signal? Well, they are the parking spots of space, because everything up there is moving, it's in orbit, it's in motion. Even our whole solar system is moving. It's not just the planets around the sun. The whole thing is moving around the galaxy. Everything is moving up there. But in these Lagrange points, they're not on orbit, so if we put a man-made satellite up orbiting our planet, at some point it will come back down. It's that long spiral falling to Earth in a big circle there. So you always have to kind of keep pushing it up, and then when you run out of fuel, eventually it does just burn up. So if you're an alien species that's noticed Earth has got life, you know, from billions of years ago, and you want to monitor it, you want to go, wait a minute, we want to know when that life becomes intelligent. You put a probe up there. You're going to do a lot of work to keep that probe in orbit. But a Lagrange point is where the two large objects, basically the gravity of them both cancel each other out. So the moon, I think, and Earth in this particular case, there's a bit where that overlaps and the gravity just it's a parking spot. You don't have to expend really any energy to stay there. So if you want to put a probe over there in tens of thousands of millions of years, maybe billions, that's a great place to put it. And what would you do if that civilization became intelligent? Like, how would you first detect that, and then how would you let them know that you've detected that and say hello? Well, you would listen for radio. It's an early access technology. It's quite easily available, low on the technological advancement tree, even though we've only had it for a few hundred years. So you could listen out for that, and then wake up, and then what would you do? Well, you don't know their language. You know, that could be far too complicated, let alone what you'd say. But what you could say, hey, I'm here and I'm intelligent, do what we do when we go see the monkeys at the zoo. Because I know what I do when I see the monkeys or the parrots, my particular interest. I mimic their behaviour. They're sitting there scratching their face or their ass. I will mimic that behaviour, trying to get them to go, look, I'm copying you. There's a connection here. So you'd repeat that radio signal back. It's what we plan to do when we can send probes to distant stars. We're not quite there yet, but they're looking at doing it. So yeah, there are lots of interesting phenomena in the world of radio. It's not just these that could point to something strange going on there. And what is the weird blob moving around from 1414 hertz on the noise level? Oh, you know what? I don't know that one that is moving around. It's quiet, isn't it? But it still looks a little bit technological. It's a good spot there, Harco. It depends how long it's there for. If it's there for a long time, it's probably not going to be alien. So part of the way that we're going to tell that, you know, is the signals that we get through of interest, are they alien, is going to be by one, what do they look like? So nature screams in radio, lots of organic radio signals, but it's very messy, it's very wide, and you can look at the green line, see how undulating it is. It's like a wave, it's natural, it's organic. Or the top one, it's chaotic there. That's nature. Whereas these thin precise spikes here, that's electronic interference most likely, and therefore, because it's electronic, it's efficient and it's precise, and it really does stick out, doesn't it? So that's the sort of thing. First thing, does it look like a technological radio signal there, or does it look like a natural one? Per first filter. The second filter is going to be how long is it on the screen for, because remember the Earth's rotation, we've got our big ear, our big dish listening up to the night sky, and as the Earth rotates, it's moving and sweeping around. It's going to be different stars in range, and at further the distance, the less time that is going to be in range of our dish there. So we think 30 to 90 seconds is the sweet spot for where we'll be able to detect a signal from that far away, and that's how long, you know, it'll be on our screens for. So with the Earth's rotation there, so again, if it's there in that sort of time window, then we think, right, that target where that's coming from isn't likely to be here, because if it's a plane, it's much faster than that. If a plane was emitting a signal, because it goes right in front of our dish. But if it's, say, electronic interference, or like my Wi-Fi router or something was causing some problems, that's physically here with me, so it'll be the whole time. The Earth's rotation wouldn't affect it, and the closer you are, maybe it's a probe in our solar system, one of the NASA probes on its way to Mars or on Mars there. Well, Mars stays for us in the same part of the sky for quite a long time, for, you know, for like hours as the night sky slowly moves there. So it's the Earth's rotation isn't as effective there. So you can kind of get position from that sort of thing as well. But ultimately, what we need to get that confirmation is going to be a second detection at the same time. Because again, lots of these anomalous radio signals have been heard over the years. The reason we can't say any one of them is 100% alien is because they couldn't ring up their friend and go, all right, we're getting a really interesting signal there from Tau SETI. Can you go point your dish at Tau SETI and tell me you're getting the same thing? So two dishes from two separate locations converging at the same target tells you that it's not a satellite passing in front of that one, and it's not that dish, or it's not a broken part in that dish itself, because you've got a separate location with separate things in the way pointing at the same star. So the only commonality they've got is their destination star. So that gives us a much more confidence. But because they don't do it like we're doing now, they don't really do it in real time. They just set the satellites going, or they get second-hand data from other astronomical observations, and they go through it over years, so they can't ring up their friend in real time and do that one. The most efficient path being a straight line there. Why did people make streets or a windy? That's an interesting one. And you look at like you know, European cities or even American cities there, where it is more planned. They are straights and they're more grids and they're more efficient, aren't they? But when nature takes hold, nature has to work its way around objects. So back, especially like old London and places here in the older cities, it is like, oh, somebody had a plot of land, somebody fought somebody else for a little bit of a plot of land here, or there used to be a river going along this path there. Much more mirrors nature rather than that considered master plan. But did you know, after the Great Fire of London, although we still have wonky streets because they mirrored the old streets a lot of the time after rebuilding London, they actually, when they're doing the master plan for it, they built it on occult principles. It was actually, and that sounds all big and scary, the occult, but the occult just means the other, outside of the traditional there. But it was all, they referred to it as the New Jerusalem, and all of the churches that were meant to be built to represent this. So Christopher Wren was one of the architects of that, but it's all in these bigger, wider, more esoteric principles, which is really, I think, quite cool when you start to look into all of that one. Harco coming in with the shares, thank you for that. So it is the likes, the shares, the tapping away, all of that jazz there that helps us reach more and more like-minded people there, like yourselves. And the more eyes and minds we get on the old phenomena, the more we can all piece this puzzle together. I've had such a clear run of skies there, it's now automatic. It really is muscle memory there. The wrong script comes out for that one. And what's up there, Wolfman? How the devil have you been? And oi, good to see you there too. And drink, I am getting warm. I've not got the fan in here tonight. I didn't need it, but I am literally just noticing how warm I am. Thank you for the reminder. It's called Nasty. What was that for? Can't remember now. And signal hunts have been good, deep chats. They really are, yeah. I guess we can really kind of get into it there because we're not having to monitor as often. Yeah, it's not as jazzy, but I still quite enjoyed them, although I can only do a handful of them in a row before I lose my mind. As long as we don't mention the turtles and straws, we're good, or spiders, because that's when the chat goes a bit sideways there, normally in the last half an hour, so you're all right at the minute, guys. And as long have you ever got anything at 1.6 that are Wolfman? We don't search 1.6 yet, and the main reason, two main reasons for that is that 1.6 is although it has that connection to the phenomenon, lots of people report it, it's also used for Earth-based stuff. And because we can't check, basically, if we got a signal on here now, I can't tell if that's going to be an Earth signal or a UFO signal. If we had like a much wider area, like somewhere like Skinwalker Ranch, or they've got that wide space, they can control their environment more. You can be a bit more confident that you can match that up with another anomaly. But yeah, so not having the visual confirmation, the fact that Earth-based technology uses that frequency So we haven't done it yet, but it is something that I am looking to set up to include just quietly in the corner for our sky watches, just having the little meter running there as well, because then we do have the visuals, we do have the old you know, the confirmation we see anything strange, or we're getting something strange as well there to match them up and be a bit more confident. But that will come soon. Our next upgrade for the sky watches, I know we've been teasing it, I'm waiting for a new lead to arrive, but we've got our very own dog whistle. So if you've heard about this, there's the idea that certain tones and frequencies can summon or interact, you know, cause basically the phenomenon to happen, to appear. There's lots of reports of how effective this is, and so we've built our one like that, and we've got some very good speakers that can do those frequency ranges, and we'll have it so it'll be playing, and hopefully then for being active, not just monitoring what is up in the night sky and seeing that, but actually seeing if we can summon it in, see if we can increase our odds of sightings are there, and then the actual graph will show on the screen what frequencies are playing. You won't hear it because A, it'd be outside, and B, they're normally subhuman tones. You can hear some of them, but yeah, various patterns, frequencies, and all that sort of stuff there. And oi there, can you pick up things like the military, police, shop security on this setup? So technically, yeah, we have the frequency range. The limitation that we've got is we've got certain things added onto our kit to kind of maximize our ability to listen to this frequency. So, you know, it's a bit of a, you know, jack of all trades or specific, and so because we're so interested in this frequency, our dish is specifically designed to be the most optimal dish to give us the best chance of hearing on this frequency range. But also the amplification filters are all purposely for this range. We want to minimize the background noise as much as we can and amplify any possible signal as much as we can there as well. And again, it's all tailored to that narrow range, whereas all those things, although our technical radio set will do it, it's not going to be very good because we're focusing on these ranges down here. Because remember as well, these signals are going to be traveling over vast distances, and by the time they reach us, they're probably going to be really faint, and we need a signal. For us to see it, we need to see it pop above that background noise that we're seeing there. It needs to be louder than the background, or we're just not going to notice it. It's going to blur into it, and that's what that little red box is doing. Every now and again, it's popping up to go, right, is there any clue in this background noise, any signs of repetition, encoding, or modulation there, anything that could give us a clue that there may be a faint signal getting lost. Now, we wouldn't be able to pull that signal up and out and go, hey, look, there it is, let's listen to it, but we might be able to get a clue that there could be something getting lost into this, because you imagine how far these signals have got to travel. They're probably going to be quite faint before they get us here on Earth, so that's why we really need to do our best to focus on this section ourselves. But there's lots of interesting other stuff that I would like to do in radio there, but I have got a second setup, but I haven't got around to setting it up yet for that one, so it should be at some point there. The Brits were just drunk whilst building everything, I reckon. Well, they were. They used to drink more alcohol, didn't they, than water, because it was less poisonous there. Paid in it most of the time. Coffee. Oh, that was it. Coffee and Dr. Pepper. It's nasty. The nasty, that's the name. Also good word for Alan there. And Kate coming in with the shares. Appreciate that. Oh, and I bet my ex-mother-in-law would be able to hear me. I've had a few of those there. Living Light. Just see that pop up there. Thank you for feeding Alan. Right, I'm going to bounce back over to the tubes. You guys have been patiently awaiting for me there. I'm across 2 chats tonight, so do you have to give me a second before I read through one and then bounce back over to the other section there. So I've just done the TikTok, coming back over to the tubes. Actually, TikTok, you're not getting the full experience. Definitely worth checking out. No, wrong button. It looks like this over on the tubes there. You can see more data, more of the screen, more of the radio spectrum, and all of that stuff there as well, which is all good. You can see the map of the sky that shows you what stars we're pointing at and what ones are coming in range in real time. So at the Thing UFO, if you want to check that one out. Where do we get to? Interesting. The Anouk sniffer plane has been up and seen over the US. That is actually one of the things I keep meaning to track, because at the end you could probably deduce quite a lot of that. That's something they can't really hide. They could turn off the transponder, I suppose, but you can still deduce what airport it was at last and how long and stuff. So very interesting. I wonder has there been any theories on correlations of like what parts of the US it's been? And do there, can you tune your receiver into 50.408 megahertz? If so, that is the dedicated signal frequency used by hobbyists to hear meteor pings, and would be good for the personally shower on. Also, oh, you know what? I don't know if it goes up that high, but if it does, I would be interested in doing that. I'll look into that one, because yeah, we've not considered that one before. Actually, we've not considered that one. You're giving me ideas, Stu, and I like it. I like that one. Maybe we can visualize that in an interesting way as well, and we can do both at the same time for it. And AFC there had a huge shift gap in along San Andreas. Oh, fault there. Strange how they make movies, then years later these movies become a reality. There's also another strange phenomenon in Hollywood where two totally separate movies from separate studios with no connections of directors or stories or whatever, they turn out to be exactly the same movie, basically. Is it Mission to Mars and The Red Planet came out the same year, basically the same subject matter. There's loads of examples, and I think it's an example of convergent ideas. And because what's happening is that we don't really have an original idea. Our brains are just matching dots. And if you've seen that game, it's called Pelmanism, and you turn over a card and it'll have a candlestick, and then you turn over, it's a bathtub, then it's a chair, then it's a candlestick, and you have to remember which card it was that had the candlestick, and you match the two and you get the set, and you kind of go through like that. And our brains work kind of like that, that we all unconsciously go through the world, we pick up on clues, whether it's fashion, culture, environment there, and then the connections get made. And really, really creative people are able to kind of see those really, really distant connections. I think that's what creativity is. They're seeing more connections going out further, whereas less creative people, it's more just the obvious connection in front of your face there, that it's raining outside, I might get wet in some cases, but it's those connections there. So I think that's why multiple people come up with those things like that, and there can be certain things that seem to be pathetic there because maybe there's more data that's inspired this, or it's something that we've become aware of and stuff. Or sometimes maybe they're just checking in, or just getting something in from a different plane. A lot of older cultures basically felt that we were just getting these signals in. That's where we were getting the ideas, the muses, daemons, and all of these sort of connections. They thought the gods were with them in their heads, and maybe we're the wrong ones. Maybe our reductionist understanding of how the world works is wrong, and maybe it is more like that out there. In fact, a lot of actual physicists now and real scientists, working on the consciousness thing, how does consciousness work, they are starting to come to the conclusion, there's a big push, not necessarily right, but they're starting to think that consciousness isn't necessarily created in the brain, but it is, the brain is a receiver for it from somewhere else, which would make you think, hey, you can get that information from out there. Because there's a lot of cases like, how the hell did you know that? And via the void there, I really need aliens to abduct me and remove my sweet tooth craving there. Seriously, 2 custard turnovers and a chocolate cheesecake. And a goof fudge cake. Oh, void. Me and you both with that. I have got... my self-control is when the packet is emptied and the shop is closed. So I'm a nightmare. This is why I do this stream, is because then for at least 2 hours I'm not stimulating myself with sugary drinks, sugary foods or nicotine. At least it stops me for a brief bit. And what if the aliens turn out that they've got a sweet tooth as well? So we know that the sky is in a cycle of 18 years and 11 days and 8 hours, and then it resets, starts again. Then NASA know that they use the Babylonian cycles there. I know there are certain cycles, but I'm not too up on the details of those ones. But yeah, ancient astronomers seem to know quite a lot. They mapped a lot of these cycles well into the past. In fact, they seem to have more knowledge than us, and for a lot of the time. So maybe there's a lot going on to those ancient cultures. Actually, the aliens to remove 1 tooth there. I can't get... oh my god, poor dentist, a bloody nightmare, as well in the UK. And Harry though, hi SETI there, it's very interesting there. The hydrogen line is a single frequency there. The sound should you are playing in the background is 2 tones there, similar data streams. So it's Harry, good spot on there. So we are on the hydrogen line, but what we're hearing at the minute is 2 things. So first of all, we're not actually hearing the hydrogen part of it because it's not loud enough where we are pointing to the night sky to pierce above the cosmic microwave background. So what we're hearing now is that is just the background noise of the universe, the Big Bang. So we're getting that one through there, which is overriding the hydrogen. So sadly, yeah, we're not actually getting that yet. Now, if our dish passes through the Milky Way, where the hydrogen's densest, it should spike up, and we should be able to hear that louder. But we're also technically filtering it as well. So some settings on radio. So how we communicate with the FM, for example, and AM, they are basically what what encoding we use to encode the message into the radio system. And there's different methods of doing it, hence the different names, FM and AM for that. They're different methods, though, the tools to encode and then decode those messages. And on here, there's all sorts of others, and we're done, I can't remember actually what one we're on. I think it's CW is a different coding type. So we picked that one, which is arbitrary because, you know, if we are listening out for ET, they ain't going to be most likely using any of our human encoding systems. They would have figured out a slightly different version probably. But we did that one because it's the most acceptable to tolerate to the human ear rather than just static over a long period of time. So maybe that's giving that tooth. That's an interesting angle, Harry. I like it. Had a tooth I think extracted a few days ago. Oh, Lucy, the extractions are the bloody worst. There. It makes DMT be careful. Can't make DMT if originates from a natural plant again. What is? I'm not following that one. Johnny, try again for that one. What if our ancestors understood frequencies in a way we are only just beginning to rediscover? Maybe ancient civilizations used technology so advanced that it could move more massive stones using sound. I think that is the most plausible structure that we have for an ancient and advanced civilization. The idea that, you know, as we're discovering our tech tree and all the branches going off in different directions, we've missed a whole bit. You know, there is just this whole other area that you know, that's yet to be discovered, because it's very, very different from our based version of things. There, you know, complementary. I think that makes the most sense there, because there's so much going on there. And we touch on certain areas of science very, very loosely. You can synthesize a lot of those sorts of things there with chemistry, because that's basically what chemistry is. It's just moving this molecule around in this sort of thing like that. So you can synthesize, you can make a lot of compounds synthetically, synthetic replicas of it. It doesn't always need to be natural with these things. Nice clear sky in Pershore, Gandalf. I am very jealous of you there. Although we have had such a good run of clear skies, I can't be grouchy with it there. So this is our one alien radio signal hunt that we've done in a while, isn't it? There, but we'll be back for our UFO Skywatch tomorrow night, and if you haven't seen that before, guys, make sure you're following, because yeah, tomorrow night it'll look like this. Night sky, live camera, see all the beautiful stars, all of the moving satellites and objects up there, and hopefully it's some strange things to boot. Shooting stars too. It is pretty awesome. Follow, subscribe to get those notifications when we go live there. Radio Nibiru there. Ollie, I like that. Picking up the messages from Nibiru, maybe. And crop circles could be made by sound signals. Yeah, that's one I always forget, and I haven't really explored it, but you know, that could be the curveball that actually explains a lot about it. I need to look more into that. Every now and again somebody mentions, I go, fuck yeah, that's a good idea. Let's have a look into that one as well, because we do know sound waves do make certain patterns. Like if you, is it psionic? No, that's not. That's the other thing. There is a name for it, but basically if you put like sand or salt or some sort of light granule on a metal plate, and then you attach that to a speaker, so the vibrations of certain frequencies will make consistent patterns, like, you know, wavy lines or circles repeating out of each other. It's really interesting, and crop circles do feel very similar to that. Where crop circles is one of my is me on my tractor in Somerset there, AFC. I do wonder, I've got no real touch point on how difficult that would be. It looks really complex to me, but maybe it is a lot easier than you think for humans to make it there. But what I don't get is, where are all the crap ones? Where's your first crop circle? Where's the one where you got interrupted halfway through? Do they exist? Is it just hard to make a crop circle? You know, like, why is it we don't see the half-finished ones and stuff like that? The crop circles are a real extraterrestrials are closer than you ever imagined, as you've been hoodwinked with a newer religion. Space is out and not up there. Well, space is out. Definitely space is out. And I'll have a good stream there, AFC. There, I gotta go there. Been bed, I've been up 6 a.m. there. Well, AFC, thank you for popping by when you're tired there. We'll catch you on a later one there. And where are we? Down. It keeps jumping ahead. Sorry, guys. And Harry there. Oh, I'm not sure an RTSDR is anywhere near the sensitivity enough to hear the hydrogen line there, and it might explain. Oh, maybe actually, because I've been wondering, because it was sold to me by Newelec that it could do it, but I don't know enough around it to try it. But I can tell you the amount of successful detections I have had of the hydrogen line are very, very slim. We have got, the amplifiers, the filters, and the dish that are for it, but maybe that could be a reason, because I would think we'd see it more often. There have been times when we have been pointing at the Milky Way. That's a very good shout there, Harry. What is the measure of that? Like, how is that quantified? So if I was looking for a replacement, so we could definitely do it, like to confirm if that was an issue or not, what would I look for on a product that would go, this is suitable for it there? Serene Hoffenstein there, great reader, lost in a math there, connects the dots there. She's telling you how spectroscopy, I can't even pronounce there, is realistically impossible. I would say that Sabine Hoffenstein, got it wrong, is a great science communicator there. Very, very great. I haven't seen her telling us that it's impossible. And did Alan thank you there, Living Light, for the gifts there? Us Wurzels know how to kid you all with our tractors there, using a drone video camera to get proper circles. So you can nowadays, but what about the older ones? And do you think that's why this year has been just so busy for crop circles? Is it because of the the abundance of technology making it easier for people to do it? And how much that affects you financially, that losing that much crop? And I'll have a look at the Doomsday Plains and oh, thank you, AUP, for that. And Trevor there, Mission to Mars was about the Mars face there. Was it Mission to Mars or the one that I saw? But either way, there were differences, because it was like, spiritual or alien related one. The one that I saw was, but essentially, going to Mars and things like that. There were very similar ones. And was it Deep Impact was one, and Armageddon maybe at the same time? Both meteors and comets coming to Earth. Twinkle little star, zoom in with a modern tech, and you can see how close, and the frequency and vibration in the ether. I don't see that though when I zoom in. All I see is a lot of artifacts from processing when you zoom in too much. And UFOs go back way before the Egyptians, and the pyramids has a lot more information than we thought. And also the caves hundreds of feet under Antarctica, when Richard E. Byrd explored in the 1940s, once the US Admiral. He's a very interesting character, is a big proponent for all of that sort of stuff. But you're right, I came into this thinking, little green men, flying saucers, a Roswell, metal spaceships, and that is really just such a small part of what could potentially be going on up there. It does look to be that basically, that is such a small part, and for so much longer as well, going back into antiquity, maybe even caveman eras, there are cave paintings that could be interpreted to see this sort of stuff. But definitely when you strip our modern interpretation of it all there, what are people describing? Seeing lights in the sky, small beings, blah, blah, blah. It looks to be the same thing throughout time there. A sound bang on there, and I'm just as bad there. Sugar and nicotine. Oh, agree. Oh, dentists are a nightmare, and you want to see someone might be. Oh, Paul, yeah, bang on with that one. I cannot tell you. Like, most of my income has gone on dentistry. Like it is just because you can't get an NHS one now, so you have to go private or pull it out yourself. And I seem to have 1 or 2 root canals a year. I'm literally. I've got front teeth. I've got sod all molars now. All gone. Because I couldn't afford the root canal, so you had to have them ripped out for the cheap option. Meteorites there, depleted plasma for back to Earth. I've not heard that theory, but I wonder, what you would expect that to look like, for the radio detection of that, but the visual on that as well. Like, would we expect them to visually look the same? And, when we measure them, basically, would we expect any differences to prove that one there? How can Earth have a monopole, North Pole, and 7 South Poles there? So that's ceremonial, 1 geodynamo, and on celestial. This is a madness there. Or maybe I don't know enough about all of those things. I'll look into that one. It's an interesting one there, but I just have no idea how geomagnetic works there. So to say otherwise, that I really don't know. We have 3 norths though. We have 3 norths. Not quite the same thing, but we have Map North. compass north and true north. And true north is fucking all over the shop at the minute there, isn't it? But I would definitely agree that we're being lied to. It's the question is by how much, you know, and how much of that is being lied to as in pushing a narrative because they like to push the narrative, or how much is consciously we don't want people to know X, Y, or Z, and how much of it is just pure ignorance there. Simple machines and horsepower, witness, or what was that? Oh, for the talking about for the ancient technology and stuff there. Maybe AFC there, S-band, X-band, and Ka-band frequencies NASA use for voice payload data and higher bandwidth transmissions there, well out of alley. And frequency modulation and amplitude modification, CW there, is just a filter there for the carrier wave, and clarity, not a modulation form. Oh, is it not? Okay, that's interesting. So the noise is not the noise there, it's the universal friend. It is almost certainly data. Well, that's where I would really have to disagree, because we're not. This is what it sounds like wherever you are on you know, the spectrum without other outside interference. There, is it because it's coming through the music? Like that, because this is we're not visually getting any data through as well there, and you would expect a data transmission to move. If we move the the frequency along as we've done before, it sounds exactly like this. So I can't see that would be a precise one for that, and we can only hear very limited frequencies. Dogs are much better than us, and likewise smells. What we perceive is very limited. It really is. We have only ever developed the senses to basically evolutionary to prevent us from dying. So if we didn't 100% need it, or nothing killed us enough to warrant the extra work of evolution to put in a third ear or a 12th eye or whatever it might be, then we haven't needed it. We do not see base reality there. We see our interpretation of it based on certain senses. Now we can build sensors to see in those other areas, like our camera. In theory, it can look into the infrared and ultraviolet, so see things that we don't get to see and other animals can do. But are there things out there that we just haven't even thought of, we haven't been aware, because we've not even known to look in those areas there? Do the wave. Oh god, it's jumping ahead of me. Sorry, guys. Where are we now? Problem is, a UAP has a far more advanced technology than us and can block our transmissions out. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, radio is a simple thing. It's all about power. And if those UFOs are doing what we seem to see them doing, moving in those ways, that requires a fuck lot of energy. And what else could you do with a lot of energy? You could make a higher power transmission to block out all of these things. Or maybe it's totally just a total curveball that we've not even considered, because Bob Lazar was talking about this in the S4 documentary. So he said that the test crews, when he witnessed them test fly or test hover one of the craft, they were communicating with the craft via a radio, like a CB radio, very simple radio communication, them to the craft, not far away. But the craft was, under his understanding, creating a gravitational warp bubble sort of thing around it there, bending the light spectrum. That would bend the sound waves as well, would mean that they couldn't penetrate that. So he was confused of how the radio would work. So maybe there's something else going on that we've not even considered there. And I've put the link to the Doomsday Planes, in the next live in the Discord. Thank you, up for that. Appreciate that. And if you are curious as well, guys, you can check that one out. Link in bio on the Discord. It's a great little community over there sharing your experiences. And they could be using two frequency channels there, one in electromagnetic and the other one in ultraviolet. Oh, electronegative, sorry, and ultraviolet there. Think like the scene from Independence Day where Jeff Goldblum hijacks the radio waves there as well. Well, everything is technically on the same spectrum, isn't it? We just chunk it up by like ways that we observe it, sound, radio, light. But technically, in the same way that if you look at your FM dial, and then go, well, actually, the one that we're using tonight is much wider than the FM's a portion of that. The radio spectrum is all an electromagnetic wave. It's light that we don't see, in a sense, isn't it? So maybe it ties in there. And as we're professionals in Somerset, and that's why we use our drones or cameras on GPS there to guide the directions for the tractor. Now, that is very cool technology. It's there, we just can't decode it. I would agree though, witness, I would agree. This thing, first thing is getting a message, the second one is decoding it. But are we even aware? Think about before man had discovered radio. Those radio waves are all flying about, the natural, the organic ones. What we're hearing right now is already flying around up there. So, I believe that time travel has been found 100%. That's when my head starts to hurt. We get a good pay by selling the stories, compensation, lots of gossip. Hey, if it works out. Look, next time you're planning one though, AFC, right, let us know, because we want to do a live Skywatch from the middle of a crop circle. So if you can pick a field where we got good phone signal so we can connect, and let's have a word so we can do one live from there. But do you believe time travel's been found? Like, it could well have. Like, we just don't know enough about how it works to know, would it cause problems? Would it not there? It is possible, with our understanding of physics, to do that. We know we can travel forward in time biologically. I've just done it. But we can also speed that up, with relativity. Again, we need a lot of energy to traverse distances. Is speed will do that. But also, in theory, we can space-like curves, I think it is, we can curve ourselves back around in time as well. But so not quite how they'll describe it in Hollywood, but again, it doesn't break the physics of our understanding. So somebody more advanced might be able to go, right, this place at this time. And Armageddon is an awesome movie. There is there. What's that? Barrel compressed astronomical telescopes there compress the image lens compression. Oh, well, I imagine to a certain degree. And imagine if we could reverse engineer the curvature of time-space to make a prism that acts like a triple slit, their experiment, and blocks light as both a wave and a particle. We could prove we live in 3 dimensions inside a curvature of space-time. I was actually just about on the level where I can barely understand, on the limits of my brain processing there, Witness. It sounds very interesting, but I think I get roughly where we're going. They did have some other experiments that they were able to measure. What is the geometry of space-time? That is the next question. What does space-time look like? What is its shape? Is it flat? Is it curved? Is it a... what do they call it? Like a Klein sphere sort of thing? Does it, even wrap on of itself there? And what would be the difference between the double split and the triple split? This is the question. Is it the different dimensions you're blocking out with that one then? For north compasses, safe only a 1. There. Well, there's only one compass once. You're right at that for north. We live in 3 dimensions inside of the curvature of time and space. To the best of our understanding, isn't it, that is the case? They do think, in fact, there's many different branches of science that go, there are more dimensions, there are more spatial dimensions. They just can't agree on how many or how we would observe or perceive them, and if they are there, or maybe they're really tiny, we don't see them, and things like this. I'm starting in my ignorance, and again, it is ignorance here. I'm starting to feel that we're looking at time wrong. And I'm not going to bore you with the specifics on that one, because it is a long-winded one, but I think we're looking at time wrong with that. And read up on Oumuamua. Oh, IFC is very interesting there. It's the first interstellar object, wasn't it? Cigar object heading for Earth's atmosphere there. It is a big eye-opener, especially for podcasts. Extraterrestrial. Oumuamua. Now, Oumuamua is not heading for Earth's atmosphere. So Oumuamua was the first interstellar object discovered a few years ago, but we only discovered it when it was leaving our solar system there. But it was a really, really interesting object, because as you say, its shape there, which we deduced from its light profile, in the same way, guys, on the light there, when we see the flashing on the sky watches there, you're able to kind of deduce shape if you can measure that precisely. So yeah, it was interesting that its speed was interesting, because it was technically almost at rest. It was almost still, and it was our solar system, moving through its space. So it looked like it was flying through us, but actually we were flying through it. But it did the non-gravitational movement of a comet, but without any outgassing on cometary tail. So we don't know what can do that, and that's really interesting. So basically an engine. It was a really, really interesting object, but it was on its course basically well out of our solar system by now, as far as we were. So I'm not aware of it coming back or something. I'd have to look more on that one. But yeah, they named that one Oumuamua, which is like, is it Haitian or for visitor or something like that, or messenger? I think that's where they got it from. And it's not up and down or left and right or a depth and tensor. We could make a prism that accommodates the curvature of space. I understand the words and the area, but I really struggle with following. It's just far too advanced for me. I'm interested in it, but I'm thinking of I think preschool levels when we get to that sort of area. Where did it get to? Sorry guys, just reading through the chat. Hey Jeffro, if aliens landed at your house and offered to take you to their planet, but you could never return or bring anyone or anything with you, would you take them offer? Logically, yes. Emotionally, not so sure. Because, like, when else would you get that experience? That's a rare bloody experience. See another planet, to travel through space-time, to experience that. Even if they said, look, you come in, but we're going to chop you up for bits and, like, you know, probe you, I'd be like, well, it's still like a pretty good opportunity, isn't it, there? We'll do a wait list at some point. We'll get some boarding passes done. And Dempsey, how are you doing? I believe I would. I like it. And we got humans, humans killing humans on Earth there, and nuclear threats. And I'll be taken by the aliens and give them the information 100% there. How do we know that they're not going to be any worse? You know, we're like we are as a product of our evolution, you know, which is competition in our environment for resources, for safety, and all that sort of stuff, and within species, not just other species as well. So if the aliens, they look like us, so if they're not directly related, they've had to have had a similar evolutionary environment to make them look similar to us, you know. So maybe they have a similar temperament. I think the interesting counter argument to this, which is that for them to potentially have the technology that we observe them must having to be traveling these distances, they must have their shit together culturally, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to handle it. You know, one person will get upset of another alien and then they'll blow each other up with it. You know, it's just too dangerous a thing. It's an interesting counter for it there. I mean, to approve neither a wave nor a particle. I lean at the minute in my ignorance to these things that it's more possibility. You know, that is the thing, and it's so to try and think of it in a multiverse format or an either or an or, you know, the potential. I think the best is possibility. We're looking at the file ready to come, the player waiting to come on the pitch, and out there. Well, all aliens are depicted are all but naked, and when we have ever seen aliens with clothes on, with exception of Paul and E.T., except when they've had that human touch added to them. Yeah, they do. You know, maybe we have clothes, don't we, for functional and practical reasons, like, you know, temperature control, warming us up, cooling us down in certain environments. Therefore, practicality of, like, well, if I'm working with, or, you know, I'm doing some building work, I don't want to be dragging my nuts across some bricks, that will hurt. So, you know, those practicalities there. And then also you've got modesty and you know, and all of that sort of crap going on with it. Now, if they're so far advanced that their technology doesn't mean they need to be physically out there in the world, well, they don't need the protection, do that, or their technology can provide temperature as well, that's an easy one. Maybe they just don't need the clothes for those things anymore. And again, no reproductive organs as well, no nipples and shit like that apparently. So nothing to be modest about, is there? Where are we? Down here as well. Depends on which aliens pick you up. Yeah, I want the good ones. And Lucy, that's what I was thinking. It's either a wave or a particle. So would the third thing be? It would be just an extra choice of the particles, wouldn't it? I think so. It's like 3 theta waves with a 4th theta wave, which differentiates the first theta. The first 3 lack of the better example. And the first 3 waves are undefined for integrals. So it's like wave and practical light, neither. No, I'm not. That's too advanced for me. That's level 10. That's level 10. I'm going to have to go brush up there. Oh, and it depends on what you've already got there. This is in the field there, but obviously you need a very good filter system. Some of the good grid parabolics and maybe not use an RTL mainly for our audio. That's a very good point there. But Harry, I do appreciate your input on all these things. That is the wonderful thing about the internet these days, because I didn't even know if this would be possible. I've got to admit this. When I first started doing this, I had the idea, but I didn't know if it was practical with the sizes of, you know, what size dish do you need and all this sort of stuff like that. Is it even theoretically possible? But luckily with the internet, people come out and they'll tell you quickly enough if it isn't true. So we have upgraded and we've improved and we've refined, you know, to make it you know, bring us into the world of possibilities with it there. I'll look into that one as an interesting take on it. Yeah, but we do have parabolic mesh antennas about say big. It's for the hydrogen line or that frequency range there, plus the filters and the amplifiers and stuff like that. But like, literally, my knowledge is around doing this specific task, not the wider one there. So we appreciate all that. But Harry, there, what is your field out of curiosity? And how do you feel about the alien stuff as well? Like, you know, is it something you're open to? You're curious, you know, or is it we're all alone there? Do let us know. We'd love to hear from you that. And Oh, feet are in a different time zone to your head. Oh, technically, tick. Yeah, like we have this weird, with time, we have a weird understanding because we're all so close together. It gives us this feel that everything's right. But no, time is very, very limited. You know, there are delays even at these short distances. We just don't perceive them there. And quantum physics is so interesting there, but I'm going to pretend I understand it, but I definitely don't. Oh, Lucy, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I find it absolutely fascinating, but barely grasp it. Although I think I've heard, you know, the actual quantum physicists basically say, if you think you understand quantum physics, you don't understand quantum physics there. I struggle. Witness my say, yeah, it's hard, isn't it? There, I appreciate you with it there. And it is interesting there. Oh, the Cerberd Numeric is one I've heard used, but I think that's the radio astronomy, but just into terrestrial amateur radio. So it's in passing 8, but it's still useful skills there. But yeah, that is the one that we've got. The Cerberd H1, I think it is for that one there. But I appreciate that. Have you ever come in contact with then the long delay echo phenomena? Have you got any thoughts on that? I'd love to hear from those. Fun to think about that. Oh, bang on, exactly. And this is the thing, we don't have to be nervous of these subjects. So I know people, and look, it's not a complaint as well, because I think we're all like this in certain areas, but you know, there's not a lot of confidence in it because we don't know what we're talking about. You know, we're passionately having a go. We're passionately trying to fumble our way through. And, you know, in certain fields, it's not safe to do that. People will judge you. People will go, oh, you don't know what you're on about, and all this sort of stuff. So we don't tend to put ourselves out there in these areas. But I think if we can let people play and explore and get curious like it, then we can all learn. I think it benefits everybody. And I say there was no god that formed humanity, purely a broken star / planet particles that induced molecules, etc. from the plant matter, creating human race and animals there. I lean into that way as being kind of how it happens, but I've become more open to the idea of religion if not as specific to it, you know. So like I can actually get behind a lot of it if God isn't a person, if it isn't necessarily a consciousness that's making active decisions, but if it is more of just the rules of how it all works, that kind of makes a lot of sense to me. From that point down, it all kind of works there. But again, that is my ignorance. And look, I mean, even science asks for one big miracle before it explains the universe, you know, and that is the Big Bang, the call, like what caused the Big Bang, what was the Big Bang there, you know. So even with our science, it still needs the miracle. And I always find it interesting. It's not necessarily a lot of scientists, but there are scientists that the more they look at it, the more religious they become. So I've got more time than I had. Exactly, the sky's falling, shoot the breeze, love it. It's true there, all the aliens have been naked there. That is something that comes up on Movie Club that we're watching along, and it's how long into it before somebody says this alien hasn't got nipples. That's always the running joke, or one of them there. Naked or bioengineered suits. Well, that could be the other thing. They could, you know, do that, and they do talk actually a lot about this, especially for the eyes as well. Films over the eyes there. And the problem we have is what happened the day when the internet failed. Everything stopped there, literally everything. So, and I am old school, I can survive without the internet 100%. No problem, didn't say so. But this is the thing, we become dependent on other things very quickly. We are always dependent on something. There's very few people that are fully think. But where is that reasonable line? Because it's very true, AFC. You know, where is that line of I'm going to, you know, pay for an insurance policy essentially for something that might not happen? Like, where is that risk tolerance? Because you're totally right, society goes down and we're so vulnerable. The more advanced we get, the more efficient we get, and efficiency is also no redundancy. That's the nature of efficient. There's less wastage, there's less things we put aside for something else in case it can happen, because the machine is so precise, you know. But it then is, you know, has less tolerance for failure. So the more precise we become, the more advanced we get, the more vulnerable that we become to these things. So I often think about this myself, you know, like, well, what if, you know, shit hit the fan? Isn't it like 3 days worth of food in supermarkets? And then we're all fucked, you know. We haven't got local supply chains. I have no idea how to get all this shit for myself, and I don't mind starving for a while, but I look at my animals and I go, well, where am I going to get food for them? You know, they have particular sort of feed and they can't really eat our stuff or it kills them. So how much bird food should I have just out of sensibility? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it 6 months? You know, like, that's, you know, where do we draw the line? Because if that event isn't actually likely to happen, then I have got X amount of money sitting up there in stock, taking up physical space in my house. And it might not be in that case like a large issue, but if we expand that across to the rest of our lives, then it does, then you are wasting, you're paying for, flood insurance when you live on top of a mountain, unlikely to happen. So it's always, where do we all individually draw the line? Definitely the principle of having a plan, I think, is very, very, very smart. And religion is a made-up situation to divide. So AFC, that's what I used to think. But I don't think it is at all. I think that is a product of it. Like, religions are very bad. Individual religions will get things wrong. But as soon as humans are in separate camps, then, and animals do this too, monkeys do this too, but as soon as there is a difference, whether that's what you believe or what you don't, then there will be an us and them situation. There's evolutionary reasons for that. But evolutions are all actually, there's a lot of them are quite similar. They're all, I think they're our first. Religion is a way of communicating rules and structure to a group of people, and the more people you have living together, the more rules and structure you need. And they are not just the early attempts at this, and again, early is never going to be right, but in that version of the world, but they're also like how do you display very unprecise things but very important things over time, and the best way to do that is through story and narrative as well. How do you convey certain things? So obviously there are a lot of things that religions cause certain problems and things like that, but it's not exclusively, like, I wouldn't think it was exclusively purposely put to divide. Maybe one or two were, or maybe angles of them, like, humans definitely use these things for those purposes, but like, I think we can complain about individual religions, specific ones, for individual reasons, but religion as an overall, I think religion is a fundamental character of humanity, because at its core it is belief. And we see scientists, in the absence of religion, they become religious about science. Rather than what do we measure, and that is science and we can prove, they extrapolate science to wider areas which are not specific, which are not measurable there, and they work on faith and belief. So it's kind of like it's an inbuilt human thing. It's really weird. With it, and I think we might end up relying on technology too much there. I don't think many would survive without it these days. Oh God, yeah, like we really wouldn't. And like, are we learning that lesson? Like, what is the redundancy that we need for it? And I'm more in favour of the Richard Dreyfuss, and they're all hollering prayers. It's in Farsi, out in the desert, for that one. We watched, no, we didn't do it, I watched it the other day anyway, Close Encounters for that one. Where we get to look at the transition from cavemen to slash a woman and their human structure. I mean, they had lots of religious structures, cavemen and stuff like that. We not a lot of it was preserved, but again, the more we uncover, the more there does look to be ceremony, like religious practices. And again, they're probably a lot more simple back in the time, which is more like we bury the dead and that's about it, and maybe we have a bit of a dance about it or whatever it might be. But it was still those early forms, that we follow this system because we think this system is advantageous to us existing in the world. We're almost a different species now, and that is what's really interesting about humans. Again, it's the software-hardware distinction. A lot of animals are they get a lot of preset hardware. They don't necessarily learn a lot in their environment. They might have to grow into things, adolescence, and kind of learn how to use their muscles and their legs to walk a little bit. But they can, with their structures, they can do a lot of that in the womb. Humans are weird because our brains are so large. The women couldn't carry larger, the full-size skull any bigger than it is. It would be fatal if they were. So this was as big as we could develop inside the mother. So we have to do a lot of our development outside of the womb. It's very, very weird for a species to the amount of stuff, how vulnerable the child is for how long as well that is out there. But what that means is that a lot of us, our software as well, is programmed in our life experience. It's not hereditary. It's not, there's limited, unlike animals where animals do learn, they get taught by their parents, birds get to learn how to eat, where to forage for the food and stuff like that. But for us, we've got a much larger area, and that software allows for that variation. I mean, a lot more customization on each generation. And you think that compounds over time, then we get all of these differences. It is fascinating. Seriously thinking of going off a grid there to live near future and to grow own food. And look at what the Amish do in America. They survive 100%. AFC, there is a part of me that appeals to. I'd be bloody useless at it, but it really does appeal to me, like that sort of thing. There, you know, at what point do you want to interact with society or not, and to be dependent on them? But then they still have their community, don't they? But they are pretty self-sufficient there. So it's an interesting, correlation there. Maybe you can look to, you know, because you back of an envelope this stuff, and you go, right, well, how much land would you need to harvest enough food for your people there? And then you very quickly get to the Anglo-Saxon points here, because you go, right, okay, well, then I've got that land, and I've got my grazing animals, and I need to defend that land. All right, I need more people. Right, now I need more food. And very quickly you kind of look back to how the old tribes did develop in that sort of stuff, and how their defensive structures and fortifications were. Irish people are a great example. Actually, that is very, very good there. I'm too domesticated, I wouldn't survive. Honestly, that's probably where I resign myself to there. And it becomes a divide, their religion and politics, with much ideology it remains. That's why I'm atheist. So, yeah, I mean, you can't disagree with that at all. You know, like, I don't necessarily think it's the fault of specific religions. I think it's just that how we take it as humans, because we do this with everything. We do that. Just look, I said, politically, and some of the specifics. I won't go into them now, but people can make any specific thing a violent point with it now. So it's not so much the subject matter; it's how we take things. And I'm too... no, I did that one there. And Jeffrey, it's not the religion's fault there. That's like the blaming the gun for the murderer when a person always pulls the trigger. I think there might be a bit around it, because I think certain religions, they will promote certain things more. And again, overall, no judgment, is that, this was, groups of humans' best results in how to navigate the world. And again, different parts of the world are going to have different rules, different environments, different terrains, different weathers. So the one is not going to work necessarily across the board there. But I think, that means that they're all going to get it. They're all going to be right in some ways and wrong in the others, in those sets of rules there. So maybe one individual is more this way than the other, or something there. I am nowhere near an expert on it there. And after Scientology, I can't help but think they're all made up there, like spirituality, and I think there's some truth to it. But I think the answers are within, rather than in someone else's book. Within, I think, bang on. So I don't think of it anymore as true or false and made up, because at the end of the day, everything we do is made up. We're all trying to understand the universe. Quantum physics is made up. It's us trying to understand how something works, and it feels very much like in those earlier days that's what humans in groups were trying to understand, how things worked, what was the best way of operating in a group with the tools that they had at the time. And I don't think we've outgrown it either. That's the other thing here. So it's not to say this was an old hat thing, and it's no use. No, I think it's like a top level thing. And as we've advanced more, we've needed more and more precise tools, all the way down to the needle tip of science, the broad tip of religion. Maybe even art was a bit broader than that, and then religion, and then sort of philosophy, and then science. These ways of being very broad and unspecific, sometimes coming down to a point in that way. And it's how true the right way, or should I say, is it how functional is this? How much does it work for us? How much does it achieve what we want it to do? It was a spiritual caveman, but not necessarily religious beliefs. We don't necessarily know the specifics of it, do we? There, because it just isn't preserved. But they had ritual. And is it into a full-on religion? There again, the cavemen are a lot more complex societies. Again, the more we discover, and apparently, they would all trade. They had currency, they had money, as far as we can tell. They trade certain type of shells between each other, but not just human cavemen, but Neanderthals as well. And like Alan Watts' speeches there about Zen and karma and nature. I do like a bit of Alan Watts. I don't know if I agree with him fully on a lot of things, but I can put him on for hours. He is just like a total vibe, as the kids would say there. And I personally don't buy the BS on our religious books, as it's all hearsay. I think so, but in the same ways that there's a brilliant story that it was the seven sisters, the stars in the night sky. It's really interesting because, to the human eye, there's 6 stars in the night sky. And they're... but they were visible to the human eye 7 about 30,000 years ago. And various cultures that have been unconnected for a very long period of time have similar-ish stories about, 7 sisters being, protected in heaven, from vicious, warriors that wanted to take them as their wives, and they hid in the stars, and that's why one's disappeared. So over time, the humanity has described a star in the night sky being there and not being there. And it's not necessarily that important, but the story around it, all of those words conveyed the information that there was a star visible and now there's not. And I think that's the way we've got to look at all of these sorts of things, because even the films that we watch, they carry a message, they carry a story. And a really good film is that sort of transcendent message. That's why we like the hero's journey and things like that, but they're fluffing it out a bit for the consumption. So it's when you give your cat medicine, you have to wrap it in a bit of meat because it won't eat it. The story, the narrative is the meat around the pill for us, the information to be carried over time. So it's when I started viewing things like that, then I was kind of much more just open to it and letting it all be. And again, I might be getting that totally wrong with it there. And I know a lot of people that are religious would probably go, no, you're totally misrepresenting what we're saying. But for me to understand what it might be, that was kind of my interpretation. I think this is how it's happened, how it's gone wrong, and also where the value is in some of it as well, because there was a brilliant one. I was visiting York Minster, and again, I'm not religious, I don't practice in any way, shape or form, or like those sorts of things. It's not my sort of cup of tea. I find it interesting, but it's not for me. And we just having a look at the cathedral, something to do as a day out in York. And we went into Evensong, just the open service there. And if I might look at that, the organ in those spaces, that sounds impressive, doesn't it there? They gave one of the parables, and it's along the lines of, Jesus, laid out a feast for his disciples there, and all this wonderful food. And he was like, yeah, don't come, lads, if you're hungry. And like, what do you mean, Jesus? You've laid on all this food. And he's like, yeah, no, don't come to, if you're hungry, you need to come because you want to hear what I've got to say. And the gist of it is there that in psychology, because that's also another interest of mine, there is exactly the same message. What are your motivations in doing something? I'm going to be more likely to go listen to that Jesus bloke if I'm really hungry. So you're going there for the wrong reasons. You're not really invested there for things. And again, I totally bastardized both of those examples, but the fact that old text managed to encapsulate what 20th century psychologists were talking about there, I was like, are they just trying to talk about this in a different ways? And that was like a little of an eye-opener going, is it just a different format? Is this film versus books, of how to try and convey this information to people, of how to act and to integrate? I find it absolutely fascinating. What's interesting there, it does definitely have a little bit of music in the background. They're left alone. It's weird that they have been able to be left alone as well. You ever seen The Witness with Harrison Ford? I don't think I have there. Social media now are brainwashing people, and parents bringing kids into the world. These are definitely issues. Like, I totally like that. Literally having that conversation today with some friends that are staying around in their newish parents, a couple of years, and the thing, if you take your kid away from social media, then you spare them all of the obvious horrendous damage there. But then also they've got to go out into the world. And they've got to know how to use it, and they've got to keep up with their peers. If they go to school and they're not able to watch the same shows as much as their peers, then they're on behind. It's not a clear one, is it? It's just so the dangers are obvious, but the later ones, the cost of these things. It's like if we as a society decide AI is just no good, we don't want to use it, we're going to ban it here in the UK, right? It's illegal for anybody to use AI here. It's all about human workers, right? Maybe that's the right decision. Maybe always AI is going to go mad and everybody's going to have their computers destroyed or whatever it is, and maybe we miss that because we ban AI or the other consequences, what it may be. But also, if that's not true, or it doesn't happen for long enough, our whole country will be left behind because everybody else will be using it. They'll be getting the advantages, the economies of scale. Their economy will go up, which means they have more money to pay for their healthcare, etc., etc. So it's never really clear, is there? Oh, I'd love my own land to build my home and plant my own food. And whoever stepped on my land without permission will get some lead in them there. The Americans got it right. Agriculture Midwest's AFC Oh, yes, like 100% with that. Like, I grew up really cynical with the Americans and their freedom thing. But the older I get, the more I'm like, nah, no, I like that bit of it. I mean, there's plenty I don't agree with, but that bit, I'm like, yeah, no, I fully. And the word religion, origin for religion in Latin is relgar, to bind back and to tie fast. Oh, now that is interesting. That might make me rethink that one there, because I think it's etymology, is it that the history of the words? I think there's a lot of clues to those things. So that actually is very interesting to be like. And the Amish, they let their kids go for 1 week out to the other world. So they're 16 and returns it. Rumspringa, yeah, they let them kind of go crazy. And so accurate. Oh, you keep losing signal there. Technical errors. I don't want you to hear there. And I thought it was my internet. Yeah, it's ours seems to be a bit slacking tonight, and I don't know why, because our internet is actually okay. So sorry about that one, guys. Tot went funny as well. Oh god, I'm going to get to that. TikTok, I'm going to be over to you in a second. It's been a long read through here on the YouTube, and I'll be back over to you guys shortly there. Don't think there's a one-size-fits-all end of the pipe solution to diversity and politics, families. That's exactly the problem, right? Is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all. Down on the individual level, my experience is different to yours. It's different to my partner who lives in the same house, in the same town, the same household income, has the same temperature. Our experiences are slightly different. And again, towns, that's why we have different levels of governance that are structured like that, you know, because there are just differences that, you know, decisions need to be made down at certain levels. But the same with these things as well. Like they are to, we couldn't, it's why things like democracy was never going to work, you know, in a totally different environment like that, you know, like it just isn't for everybody until you get to a certain level. Oh, it's buffering still there. Well, we'll probably do a shorter one once I've caught up with the TikTok for that. They say the older you get, the more conservative you become. It's if you're not a liberal in your, you know, in your teenage years or your early 20s, you've got no heart. And if you're not a conservative by you're in your 40s, you've got no head. And if you're still both by the time you're in your 50s, you've got no fucking brain or something like that. I grew up with no internet there, no mobile phone, etc. So 100% there. Children these days are no respect, and kids allowed to be the adult. Oh god, totally with that, totally. With that, checking for a device. Yeah, I know. I can't disagree with any of those at that point there. But I do think the modern world, though, you know, I mean, just simple things like if you want to interact with your bank, there's no branches anywhere nearby. You've got to phone them up with a call centre now, you know, and they're getting rid of landlines. You won't even be able to do that. And, you know, at some point, like, your culture just kind of brings you on for a bit, doesn't it? That's why I think the Amish is a really interesting example you've raised there, because they do function. And it is a wider community. So I'd be really interested to know, like, how big of a community does it need to be to have that self-sufficiency, to have, you know, the diversification of roles and independence like that? Because that, you know, that would give you a very good model there. So I like that. Right, I'm going to bounce back over to the TikTok. They've been waiting very, very long time. Sorry, guys, for that one. Oh, Blue Nose, thank you for coming in with the Polaris. It's very, very kind of you. How are you doing there? And Christopher as well. Wolfman, oi, thank you for the other gifts. Very kind of you guys. So it all goes back into stream. Help us improve what we're doing. We're doing an alien radio signal hunt tonight. We're searching the hydrogen line, the channel on the radio dial where scientists theorise that if ET is out there, this is where they would leave the message. It's where the wow signal was heard there. So that is what we're doing. Do say hello. Let us know what your... oh my god, George has gone. Do let us know any questions you have. I'm just reading through the TikTok now. Oh god, I'm right the way up there. Where did we get to with you guys? Got to your weird Dr. Pepper combo there, Kate. And went to that one. Harco, feed him, exactly. Where are we? Did we get to Oi Oi in? I think, yeah, we got to these ones, didn't we? And did we get to ring around here? Where? Sorry, guys, trying to find it there. Oh, you were here. Thank you, Kate, for that one. Scrumful. And I don't know if it's necessary tonight. There is a little quiet over here. Yeah, it it's a bit of a quiet night. Probably the signal's not helping for that one. And Kate coming in with the shares. And Adam there, too cloudy for a Skywatch. Sadly, yes. But tomorrow will be nice and clear, guys. So if you're not seeing our Skywatch, just make sure you're following and subscribe. Because clear... No, wrong one. God, I'm going to get it right one day. It looks like this. It is a clear night sky. We see all the stars, all the shooting stars, all the satellites, and sometimes some strange things as well. It's awesome. So do make sure you're going to join us for those ones. And I believe the Meteor transmitter is located in Iceland if you have the correct receiver to hear it. Ah, excellent, because I wondered how that worked. I did see somebody doing it last year. Just checking to see if the real blood test was... Oh! Back here. Oh, okay. Definitely fingers crossed for you there. And Christopher there. It feels like time stands still while actions happen in the world there. In my head, and find the quantum web. Time is weird. You've got the time itself as an external measure, which again isn't fixed. Time isn't the same everywhere, and it's not means plus or minus that it's got to catch up or you've got to catch up with it. No, time is different in different places. It's fucking weird. It's more like weather. Just because it's raining here doesn't mean it's going to rain where you are next week. It's, you know, it's all, yeah, a bit strange. But then you've got your experience of time, which functions on so many different other things as well. Got more experience about the paranormal stuff than the universe there. But Christopher, winter, we're going to do more on that one. It's going to be hopefully a little bit more interesting for us. And DJ Lethal, how are you doing there? Sorry you're late there watching the AJ fight. No worries, but good to see you in. And if aliens come here, I wonder if our food would be poisonous to them. That is an interesting one, yeah, because they're going to have evolved, haven't they, to build things. There was an interesting... somebody was making an interesting point for certain crops like wheat and barley not having a good history that we can trace back. Now, I looked into this, and apparently it's a formation of certain few different types of grasses that converged and evolved into wheat, which is, again, high energy density food that's reliable, that you can grow. These are the things that, you know, is very useful for humans. It's one of those big post-ice age things that happens that's allowed us to advance in some massive ways. But apparently the theories are not necessarily that good. They're not that confident in them, and it could be because it kind of did just appear. You know, and maybe that's why they have the crop circle stuff. They're literally checking in on their gift. Because there's more to the phenomena with simple things like that. And what Quark's strangeness and a charm about do you understand it? I know the words. I know the words. Robert there. Apparently there's UFOs at sea. Oh, bang, right on there. USOs, they call them. So, unidentified submerged objects. But I hadn't really heard much about them, but it turns out, yeah, they've been there the whole time. They've been just as reported, but just not as publicised. But there are reports. I think old Christopher Columbus crossing to the New World reported seeing what he thought was a giant candle, either emerging or going into the water. This transmedium nature, and it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? If you're traversing the universe and all the different environments, the different radiation levels, the different temperatures, the different gravitational issues there, the different acidities, the different, oh my god, all the different variations you can imagine. Liquid water, if you can find it, is pretty bloody consistent. And water is one of the most abundant things in our galaxy, I think, isn't it there? So it makes sense why they'd be there. And plus, it's away from us most of the time there. Lots of small communities are easier to sustain than large super ones. They are, but then they don't get the advancement. Now, there's an argument to say, look, maybe the advancement isn't as good as we think it is. You know, I mean, I'd necessarily want to be in one of those small communities without modern teeth medicine, as we were just talking about that. You know, I wouldn't want to be going for a root canal or an extraction without a lot of that modern stuff. It barely helps as it is, and going through it, I have gone through without it before. Let's not do that one. That was a horrible experience. So there's certain things, you know, that I can go with, that I can't, for that. But yeah, it's a trade-off, and one is not necessarily superior. One may be more advantageous for your situation, so you may go, this is more right for me than wrong, but it's very, very rarely outside of single-digit percentages. When you consider all of the things, which we don't as humans, because that's complex, but you consider it's very rarely like a clear yes or no with it. There's always a cost, and most of the time it is just compromise with a lot of things. Where are we there? Rory there. How are you doing? Hey man, haven't joined a long time. Long house got burgled. Oh my God, Rory. So sorry to hear that one. Yeah, you don't have to apologise to us here. You're always welcome in when it works for you guys. I'm very, very sorry to hear that one. Hopefully it was okay, like as okay as that can be. I mean, it's still an invasion of privacy, but yeah, I hope it's as okay as that can be there. And Mason there, you're back there. I've been watching the telly there. We'll forgive you, Mason, it's fine. We'll be on for a Skywatch tomorrow there. What was you watching and was it good? There. No worries there. I had a fight with a door. I didn't mean to. Oh, God, Kate. And why did the government shift from calling them UFOs to UAP? So if we're going to go... we're going to still man this one. We're going to look to the positive there. They wanted it to be taken more seriously, and too much stigma is around UFO. And to be honest, if we are going to take this more seriously, we're going to be professional about this. UAP is a more accurate definition. So UFO is unidentified flying object, and UAP is unidentified anomalous phenomena. And that's about as vague as you can fucking get, isn't it, there? But true, we used to think flying in our atmosphere, but, if they're flying through space, that ain't flying, is it, technically? And their propulsion might not be flying at all, might be the wrong word. But they're also in the sea, so they're transmedium, so they're not aerial either. So they needed a more of an effective catch-all. Other people say that basically it is just trying to deflate the stigma, take the buzz out of it. Because the UFO stuff, that's why I say UFO. It's why we put UFO in the title. Everybody knows fucking UFO. It's only us lot that have heard UAP. Doesn't catch as much. People are quite simple. It's the UFO means aliens and stuff, and that, so maybe it was to deflate the teeth in it so we can tell people a bit more, because it's not going to be as sexy. It's not going to press on those buttons for the mainstream. And Amanda, how are you doing there? Drewski too. How is everybody doing? It's Alien Radio Signal Hunt there. Danny as well. Thank you for the follow. Good to have you in. But yeah, it's interesting. It's why purposely I was a bit worried about this. We're doing the stream and choosing, the wording that we're doing, choosing the attitude that I take. A little bit of swearing, being a bit, laddie around things, joking about probing, all this sort of stuff there, using green as a colour and all that sort of stuff. I was considerate of that because these are very serious things for people that have experienced those stuff. So you don't want to be getting the wrong tone. You don't want it to be too poppy, culture-y and stuff like that, as if we're making fun of something. So that was like a reconsideration. But I felt that this isn't a deep, serious podcast, and you're not going to necessarily get like the breaking news, because I've done some journalistic deep dive. That ain't me. I ain't got those skills. There's plenty of great people that do, and that's a suitable tone for them. But I felt the best value that we could bring to the community would be to awareness, that real top level area. So the general public coming in going, green, a UFO, this might be like that film I saw, oh, the night sky looks pretty, and kind of bringing it in there. Oh, what the fuck? No, it doesn't. That was an anomaly there. But enjoy the excitement of that brief one. So yeah, there's a conscious choice for those sorts of things, to raise the awareness and to do it all together there. But those subtle changes, like in the wording and stuff, it can, engrossed in supernatural, Amanda. I think Leanne's doing exactly the same thing. And what if UFOs aren't spacecraft at all, but 3D projections of holograms cast from a higher dimension? Oh, lethal, like bang on, like with that. I don't know how much of the phenomena would account for that, but it could be a scarily large amount, and I don't know where my gut sits on that one, because it's such a good fit. When you see what our best interpretations of what a projection from a high dimension would look like, proper science, nothing that's speculative area, proper science, you go, that explains a hell of a lot of our sightings. Hey, can I ask you, what are your opinions on the flat earthers' reasoning about rainbows curving? I don't know the specifics. I'm open. I won't ridicule a flat earther, because I often think that to the normal people in the street, we look like the flat earthers there, so I will give them the time. If they want to share their understanding of these things and present an interesting argument, that's totally fine with there. The problem I've had when people have done it is that I've not known what they're on about. And that's not like as a dig, but they start most of the time not where my understanding at. It's normally a lot of quoted very specific facts around things, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that bit's true, and I don't know, that doesn't, I've not got a lot of touch points. Like, I need somebody to handhold me through it from wherever we agree and then we diverge from. I mean, ultimately, I rely on a lot of other scientists doing their work, doing their measurements, and that is trust and that is faith. I haven't done those measurements myself, so I can't exclusively say, well, it's totally ridiculous. I think there's a few things, here or there, but that I wouldn't. But I don't. On the specifics, I just don't know enough about it there because of the firmament there. I mean, I think. Like there's a lot that we can measure. I did see some things that popped up around, like they were saying, oh, you can't see satellites. They're so far away, and they're you wouldn't see a brightness of that because they're so small. Well, they are relatively small, but that's not how light works in my experience. I can see a flash off of something very, very small miles away if it's caught at the sight light. I've seen that in my own experience. I've seen the window pane of a church tower on the horizon before. That has happened, and then you can see you can get the measurements and things like that. So it's not something that I've gone, oh, that sounds interesting, I know what you're talking about. It's never fit, but I'm definitely open for going down the rabbit hole with it. And I say light follows reflections. Yes, I don't know what they mean by follow reflection there. And Uncle there, what antenna are you using and what SDR? So it's a parabolic mesh antenna. It's about this big. I can't remember the exact how many meter measurement it is for there, but we've got various amplifiers and filters in line back into just I can't remember. It's a Neuralec one. It's their top end one. They sent it to us for it, so I'm not sure on the particular model of it there. But we did give a few of those away. They gave a few away to you guys for competition, which is there. And Sean there, we wait. I have to wait along there. Just I'll have to truly find out. I think that's the thing. Ultimately, like my belief in all this stuff, it relies on a scientist that's relied on somebody else's work, somebody else's work. So, and it's not that I trust scientists. It's that I trust functionality. I trust that if you are deviating from reality enough, it's going to bite you in the arse, and you have to keep putting in more energy and more resources to maintain that. So it feels like it's a too large a thing. Like we would have seen more cracks around it. But I don't know that. I don't know the maths. I don't know that it's an argument of faith. It is a belief, So it's not my position to say that that flat Earth isn't real. It's just I've not been convinced by it yet. And I also don't want to, just because somebody they don't know all the facts about something, doesn't mean that they represent the whole community with it. Exactly, we have to wait until we truly find out with it. I don't believe it there, but they make good points. So I mean, they possibly do. I'm not. There's been points that I don't understand because of my own ignorance. So it's not a point that they've got the wrong point. It's just that I don't know the measurements that they're saying that are actually wrong, with it there. But the ones I do understand are ones that they're either, again, it's that belief in the system already that, well, we've got X, Y, or Z, so we surely would have known by now, or it is something like a direct example. But again, they might come out with things that are wrong points. Doesn't mean the whole argument's false, does it? And we are beautiful there, or do we need to be chipped? Yes, you can tell if something doesn't have a soul. I find it interesting there, a rabbit hole till we fall. Everything is very much so, Sean. Yeah, the soul's interesting. Like, there's something to it, but we've not defined it well. We don't really know the specifics around it. Lots of people have different theories around it all out there, but we've not well defined it. And I'm curious once we have the definitions, because that's where I feel like that's where my mind can start to work in it. Like, all right, we've got rules to play with. Doesn't mean it's not there, but my brain goes, that's where I think we can add to it. And no worries there, Uncle. It's a good question. And Earth has to be around as when a water drains from the sink. It drains in a circular motion due to the spin. See, that sounds totally fine to me, Carl. But I don't know the science behind it. Like I've heard something about it spinning the other way in the other hemisphere, but I don't know. There's a guy on here that caught a light traveling on film with a trillion FPS camera. Oh my God! Now that is interesting. That is very cool. And right there, everybody's just maintaining a belief, and some into to know the truth. There, I've got to go. I'll catch you later there, Sean. But that is a lot of. That is why belief is an essential part of how we function in the world. And I need to understand the science of to determine my opinion. Exactly. But this is the thing. It's like, I think that's where we're getting the problems in the world, is when we act as our belief is the truth. It's fine to have a belief, and it's fine for it to be proved wrong later on. It's fine to go about your day in the world under a belief and faith, as long as it's in the right areas. But we just have to be honest about that's what it is. you know, because that's when we start to force things on other people that, you know, aren't there. And what if humanity's brains simply lack the hardware to perceive a high dimension lethal? I think bang on the money again. In the same way that we don't have the sensors evolutionarily like put into us to perceive all of the hearing range, all of the visible light, and things like that. We've got limited processing power here. It's great what it does. It really is good. But hello, darling. But it is a limited processing power there. Hi, Stinky. You all right?
It is 12:30.
Oh, yes. So we're going to be on time for that one.
I was just going to say, when you go downstairs, can you have the back door open for a bit for the chinchillas?
Oh, yes, you can do. Yeah, exactly. No souls in this. We know that they're not there, Kate. But like, what is it there? It's trying to figure it out, isn't it? Right, going to quickly bounce back over to the tubes, and then we'll wind things up. So there, because I've just realised the time. Where did we get to? Viewing diversity as abundance could be a way forward there, and everything that exists has a value, yet things differ in nature. And then it also is up to us to make a choice and decide how to apply it. So I think it's the application of it there, because, you know, diversity is essential in any which way, shape or form. You know, it is an immune system. It is a different roll of the evolutionary dice to tackle a problem. And because our environment shifts, physics is fixed to the best of our understanding, everything else changes. So not a lot of statements or processes or ways to act in the world ever stay the same. So you kind of need other people may be doing it wrong for 10 years, but suddenly their wrong way becomes right because something massively has changed. The problem is with it though, is that by using that as default, so to diversify it is also coming at a cost there. So you want to be sure that you're using it in appropriate places, because you could have like diversity of a solution by putting in all different, like, you know, chemicals into a solution, and then very quickly it's only a single digit percentages that solution no longer becomes its original solution. So you've therefore lost what that solution was good for in the first case there. And that's chemistry. We can draw a lot of these analogs over. You know, it's like our efficient machines. If everybody's doing the same thing all of the time, that's wonderful, because all of those cogs synchronize and mesh. The more diversity in the system, and diversity in this case will be a different length cog, a different width cog in that there. Now that's going to jump on every rotation there. It's going to cause an inefficiency. It's going to slow the machine down. If too many cogs are like that, it's going to break the machine. But also, if that machine is in a different temperature environment and then there's expansion or contraction, that different length or different width cog would actually keep it running. So you need the diversity, but you don't need too much, like with the things. It's an incredibly complicated thing. Not to complete there. I don't know about one there. Oh, is it all gone out there? Hopefully it will normally settle down, just probably come off there. And maybe the aliens are trying to shut us down. Exactly there. And Paul, I believe all time is now, and there is no past, present or future, just right now. And time is only a relative and nothing more. Oh, it's an interesting, because I do think, Paul, that how we do our best to conceive of time it's functional for us to navigate our existence, but it's probably very, 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 very wrong. And I'm in the minute I'm leaning, and again, it's not that it's not that I think this is necessarily right, but I need to figure it out, and then we'll figure out if it's right afterwards. But what if time is more like our spatial dimensions? You know, so like we've got a forwards and backwards, you know, in physical and spatial world, left and right and up and down, 3 dimensions there. What if it's not just forwards and backwards in time? What if it's left and right and up and down? And what if, in the same way, if I move slightly over here in the physical world, maybe moving to the right in time is me wearing my Skywatcher t-shirt and not my Signal Hunter t-shirt? And maybe if I move to the left in time, maybe I'm wearing my logo t-shirt and not this one. And maybe if I moved up in time, I'm not wearing a t-shirt at all. You know, maybe if there is, because we talk about, you know, time actually being, you know, already there, forwards and backwards, they already exist, maybe the universe as a whole there. But what about all of the variations? Because you very quickly get to the multiverse, but not that the universe is created upon every decision and it spreads out like a tree. But what about if it's already there? And it's about how we navigate across the left, the right, the up and down, in the same way we navigate the three physical dimensions, what about do we navigate in a way through temporal dimensions as well? And again, I have no idea if that is anywhere near useful, but it was a connection that my brain was making and trying to flesh that one out of what that could look like and could there be a comparison. And that is not, is it true? That's a very different thing. And that's how creative brains work. They connect dots. The good creative people, the successful ones, those dots are useful. When they're creative and those dots aren't useful, that is madness. There as well. Oh, see, it's sorted itself out now. And the on-off connection could be a Morse code. Maybe. Having past and future helps us communicate that. Well, see, entropy, that's basically what entropy is. It's the measurement of a state change, you know, because in time, how do you measure something that was and now is something different? How does it decay? How does, you know, that sort of stuff? So they have tested this. They have simulated an ever so simplified version of a universe, like very recently at a university, and it turns out that, you know, entropy is an inherent product of the universe. So it's not in question. It's always going to be there if their experiment was right. You know, it's just a natural of what happens. So it looks like time is to some way fundamental, but is our conception of it, as Paul says there, have we got our head array around it in any correct way there? If time is all happening at once there, what do you think about after alternate reality? So bang on there. That's what I'm thinking about, the alternate realities. You know, why? Because people talk about time slips. They talk about alternate reality slips there. And is it Philip K. Dick? Blade Runner guy, author there. He also did, you know, if you've seen it, Amazon Prime series, Man in the High Castle. And it's an alternate reality where the Axis won the war. So Japan and Germany won the World War II. And they split up the US. And Japan gets the Pacific coast, you know, the west coast. The Nazis get most of it, and the east coast there. And it's an interesting one, you know, exploring what that would look like in the division around it. Oh, this is a really interesting one. But apparently, and it didn't realize till you get into the series, there's actually one of these time slip or alternate reality things. Like Philip K. Dick wrote into it that basically there are alternate realities and you can bounce between them all. And the people in this conquered reality were getting the films from our reality where we won the war, and they were playing the film reels of, you know, all the celebrations and Hitler shooting himself in the bunker and all that stuff, and that was giving them the motivation to kind of uprise and rebel in their ones there. So excuse me, but apparently Philip K. Dick believed that. He thought that the story he was telling, he got that from another dimension. He felt that he had been witness to this, that he was telling a true story, that there are these other realities. And I got the match there. Yeah, it's that I couldn't see that matching up with anything on the screen, so I have no idea what triggered that one. But at least it's good to keep you on your toes. I do have a button to trigger it, but I definitely didn't press it. I think deja vu is experience that could be a brief switch parallel. That's living light. That's my only explanation for it as well. That is my only explanation, and possibly Mandela effects as well. You know. And I think there could be alternate possibilities going in our backwards direction in time too there, not only forwards, but they actually do think that retrocausality is a thing in science. It's a big area now that they're positing that there are ways that, you know, backwards communication can happen in time, and you're like, mind melting there. And Grandmaster, let's not forget the British Airways pilot Llewellyn Ligici, one featured on one of the most famous cases of ufology. Who reported his encounter on the day in 1987. I haven't heard of that one, I don't think. It's brave to do, especially back then, the criticism you'd get publicly. And the water going down the plug in a different direction is interesting there. I have seen that happen on the equator also. Crossing the equator line makes me fall over every time. It's weird. That's so weird that you can sense it, and that there are those differences because of that. Bugger, is that the time? Need to be up. We're going to Cardiff there. I'll catch you later out. Thank you for joining us there. We're not going to be on much longer. Get me all fired up when you start talking time travel. And it's all connected. This is the thing. These things aren't as separate. You know, it's not just the UFOs. It's not just the cryptids. It's not just the spooky stuff. It's all connected there. Standing on there. It's interesting. Good inspiration. Granville, and beliefs have a direct effect on matter, and shame because an adult's face to flush, whereas the same emotion has no effect on a small child, as the latter has not been conditioned by society in the same way. But they really do. They really do. And, you know, it's the same way, because you talk about a lot of this with... if you've ever had the misfortune of trying to deal with a chronic health condition with the NHS, you'll know this, which is you get the functional diagnosis, which means they think it's all in your head. And technically, a lot of these things are in head. You know, in head, it's the psychology, it's the software, but it affects the hardware, and it is just as hard to treat. It's not a choice thing with a lot of these things there. So, you know, you're right, it is the belief structures, the interactions with these things between other things there, and it's so complex, you know, and it's amazing. There are cases as well where the uncontacted tribes will have a similar reaction to something they're not aware of as well. There are certain things that do transcend it, but yeah, a lot of the stuff is what your belief is around it as well, hence like the placebo effect. And alternative realities probably have really interesting Elton John music videos. I mean, they're already interesting there. Straight Elton John. That would have been an interesting music video. Have you ever seen the TV show Sliders and Timeless? They're both brilliant. I've heard of Sliders, but not the second. I don't think I've seen it. Sliders are ringing a bell. I think I might have had a missus at one point that was really interested in that, and I didn't get into it. It's not classical conditioning. It's... operating condition. I think psychology is absolutely fascinating how all of these things work. And again, I think it's one of the most missing parts when we're looking at the phenomena. Our psychology, our sociology, and our neurology. You know, how our brains work on the software front, how we store information on the hardware front, and how we we share that information, we spread that information, and what information we choose as well within groups. That for me is so overlooked in the UFO world, and we don't apply. And a lot of the time it's because it's been used against us. It's been used to diminish what's going on. You're just having a hallucination or things like this, and so get right. But I think that we need to reclaim it, and we need to use those tools because it tells us so much. It's not the disproven, it actually works with us. Once you understand how it's, that's why we're seeing this and this and this, because our brains are storing this and this, and they're triggered by X, Y, and Z there. Oh, you got your diploma in sociology. I think you might have mentioned some of that witness as well previously, but it's so fascinating with all of those things. So it tells us so much, and for me, I said it adds to the argument rather than detract it. You know, it allows us to kind of get to the meat of the issue. Where did we get to? Over on the TikTok before we come off. And what if ancient sky gods were just early encounters with non-human tech there? So like the, what do they call it, the cargo cult. That for me is plausible. It could be a lot of it there as well. What if these sources were just remote controlled civilian drones from an advanced neighbor galaxy? Now that would be cool, wouldn't it? But this is the thing, lots of things are on the table, you know, until we can get any less information or refine it down with information there. So it can only mean we assign meaning to everything there. So mind over matter. I think that we assign far more meaning. I don't know if I'd say 100%, but I'd say it's my 99.9. You know, like it's like with your computer, how far back can you go in the coding? Well, I can change what apps I use. Right, I could use Linux rather than Windows, and I can change my old operating system. And then beyond that, maybe I go back to the BIOS settings and stuff like that. You know, how can you, what layer in the brain, how much, you know, you will have your hardware limitations of that. You know, my computer and processing power, no matter what software I'm going to do, I might have a more efficient one, but you know, there. So I think there are constraints, but I think so much of it is there. Earlier I watched an Alan Watts there trying to subvert a perspective of time as hindsight bias, and he was describing that objects are vibrations too and just echoes. Alan Watts, like, I find it compelling to listen to, but I don't know if it's his language. That, you know, it's different language that I would use. It's like, not that I disagree with Alan Watts. I think a lot of it is really, really insightful. But I feel like, I wouldn't use that phrase. I would use this, which I feel describes it a bit better or something, you know, with it there. But Alan Watts with a bit of music in the background, like I think they've released some of his stuff actually as vinyl with it, and I may have some weird. It's brilliant there. God is the Lord of the little things. I like that one. Anyway, guys, I'm going to come off tonight now, but thank you so much for joining us, even though it was a alien radio signal hunt. It's not for everyone, but I find it interesting because we are still searching for the highly strange. We're doing the evidence, we're doing the work whilst hanging out and having some really, really cool discussions. We get deep on these ones. And remember, everything I say, I ain't no smarter than any of you. I ain't seen anything, any extra here, there, so very wrong probably, but it's interesting to float the ideas up and to see what people chew up and to see what people comes back with there as well. So never feel disheartened if I don't agree, or if, because sometimes I actually agree and I put in a counterpoint just to keep it going, to come from the other direction there. So never feel disheartened about like that. We love the conversation. It's how we all grow, it's how we all learn, and the deeper we get, I mean, God, it's amazing that we have a time in the world to actually be able to do this sort of stuff there. But thank you so much for hanging out with us, keeping us company, for sharing your knowledge, most importantly with things like this. We're going to be on tomorrow night for the Skywatch, so last chance to follow, subscribe if you haven't already, but I'm suspicious you all are followers there. But thank you for tapping, for sharing, all of that sort of stuff there as well. Gift us suppers, again, extra love, helping us be able to improve the stream. Mods as well, thank you for keeping it all in there. Oh, sir, it's the Bolivia alien photo. I'm going to have a look for that one. Thank you guys for tonight there. And yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye. Oh, Dawdle, thank you for the gift. Nearly missed you out there, Dawdle. Sorry. And hello. Nearly missed you there. Like, share, and hype. Thank you, Liberty. Massive appreciation for those ones. Be on tomorrow night. Bye bye, guys.